Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast number 136. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and in studio back here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with Johnny. Yesterday was your birthday, V.
I'm 1 year from Masters. I mean, not even technically. I can play come December or January. I'm sorry.
January of next year. The ripe old age now of 30.
I'm 39. Catching up. You're catching up pretty quick.
No,
Got a few months to go.
No, not quite.
Yes, 39. Thanks everybody that reached out to me. I appreciate it as always. You know, you guys are awesome. There are some great messages out there on Facebook. So thank you.
On the Facebooks and the tweets and everything else. So, however, I think that however, I just wanted to get that out of the way because apparently I've been now notified after the fact that I say however too much. So I figured I'd get a good 4 to 5 of them in there for you guys. Hopefully you won't hear any others tonight.
You say it too much on the podcast? You say it too much on the broadcast?
I said it too much this weekend on the broadcast.
There's a few crutch words that you use.
Of course there are.
You've said it before. However, nicely.
Yep.
Settles up nicely.
Yep.
Every once in a while when I catch it, I'll just say on the phone, Terry, I'm sick of hearing this word.
Sure, which I'm good with. And
I know, and it's I'm not to be insulting. It's just I notice it, and if I'm noticing it and I'm not really paying attention to what you're saying, then I'm sure you've said it 1,000 times, other than messing up Eagle and Simon.
Well, yes, which I did do. So anyway, me making light of it and myself, I am not begrudgingly saying any of that. I am saying that if I say a word such as however, which apparently I said way too many times, of course I apologize for it. It's not something that I would like to continue doing. There's no word that I would like to continue to overuse by any means. But when going back and looking through the little bit of feedback that I was able to look through, apparently I say it way too much. So I figured if I got in 3 to 5 right away, right off the bat, hopefully I'll be good for the night.
No, maybe. We'll see.
Maybe not. I can't promise anything. So we are glad you guys are joining us here tonight. Again, this is podcast 136. We have a very special guest in our St. Patrick's Classic, I think it's the St. Patrick's Classic, in Josh Anthon, who will be joining the show tonight. Obviously, there has been a number of conversations that have circled around Josh for a few years now, but what I believe really matters is he's back. He's playing golf. He's playing very good golf. He's very focused, and I feel like for those who don't know him or maybe didn't know him from yesteryears, maybe you're going to get a good insight into who he is here tonight. So we're glad to have him. I'd like to thank Josh for taking the time and being able to join us. Josh hasn't been a guest here since we've been doing kind of the podcast life, and you're going to see why as he's rated 1043 right now and rated the third highest player in disc golf. His skills and such are going to talk. We're going to see some of those.
Yeah, I am very curious to see how the rest of the year goes, especially for him, but the Masters Cup particularly, because I know that's the event he's got his eyes set on right now, and it's not too far from his home. He's a veteran of it, and it's really going to be interesting to see how he compares up against the other best in the world right now. And from what his scores this weekend showed, he's not far off.
Certainly not. In fact, I think there's even a brief video, maybe it was Ben Baker of Central Coast, had put out a quick video of him where he was asking as to, what are the best rated players in the world. And, of course, Wysocki and Macbeth, the only two rated higher than him. For those keeping score at home, I know we talk about Paige Pierce winning her last 6 of 6. Granted, they were all this year. The last 6 tournaments that Josh Anthon has entered, he's also won. that dates back to his
2014
his 2014 season, where he entered 5 events, 3 of them being A tiers.
I see a lot of ones.
3 A tiers and 2 B tiers. He won all 5 events, and then when he rejoined the circuit here this last weekend after knee surgery, again we're going to get to all of it, but after knee surgery, he then won again. So he has won the last 6 events that he's competed in, and he is the only 3-time World Championships runner-up. including that epic battle that he had with Avery Jenkins back in 2009. So,
Yeah.
again, we'll get to him. There's a lot of good stuff and conversation to be had. I'm going to say real quickly, in the brief conversation that I did have with him today, it's been very apparent and it's very clear that Josh is talking about positive things moving forward and going from here. So if you're here and you're worried about the past, or you want to dwell on it, or you maybe even want to be a jerk or something on the board, skip it, because we're going to be here and talking about the present and the future for Josh and his family and for the disc golf community. So.
And I was just going to say something along those lines, in that I'm going to have virtually zero tolerance on the chat board tonight.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
if you're making off-color jokes and I think it goes too far, I'm just going to block you immediately. I'm not even going to think about it. So just let's keep it positive tonight. Let's keep it positive.
All right. So I think, speaking of keeping it positive,
I'm positive we got our own leprechaun on the line.
we do. I love that little red beard and everything else that he has to offer. Give me the dynamite.
I'm going to give you some dynamite. Boom.
Hey, Dana.
What?
Like in our pocket?
Yeah.
No? Pot of gold?
Steal your Lucky
I'm
Charms.
not, it's not frozen. I'm just staring at the camera.
Johnny
scowling.
said it, and I just went with it.
You know,
A leprechaun.
you're smaller than me, and you're kind of red. That's all I got. If you put on a pair of pointy shoes, I'm putting you in my pocket. That's all there
I
is to
had
it. Dana.
planned on starting out by wishing you a happy birthday, maybe
Thank you.
singing, but
Oh.
yeah, those are all. That's out the window.
Your wife already made his birthday as pleasant as possible yesterday.
She friended me on Facebook,
Yes. No needs there.
so I'm all set. Now we can talk about you behind your back. Just saying. You know, I'm
It doesn't go to other messages anymore. It goes right into the actual inbox. All right. Dynamite, welcome. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. What do you got for us, buddy?
Dudes, the season is. We're
moving.
in full swing.
Yeah, it's so early, but you're right. We are already in full swing. It used to be where you'd see the Memorial come by, and then it would be like 3 or 4 weeks before anything else major happens.
We talk about Spike Heiser for a month straight, and that's it.
We talk about Spike Heiser for almost a year straight. Let's be honest. Come on.
Yeah, that is true. I didn't scowl the events, but he probably ran something last weekend. But there were 3 A tiers, including the Disc Golf Pro Tour WACO annual charity open presented by Dynamic Discs. I actually watched a little bit of Ricky Wysocki's lefty round yesterday. They played.
Yeah.
Him being Yuli, Katrina, and Drew Gibson played a lefty round, and Ricky referred to Waco as WACO, Texas. It was awesome. But I'll talk about that event here in a little bit, not their lefty round, but the actual event. The St. Patrick's Classic out in California. And then also Discraft presents the Sun Kings Throw Down the Mountain Weekend 2, which was the pro weekend. And that's where I'm going to start. So down in Florida, if you haven't heard about Brooksville, in the canyons, epic. Terry, you're usually down there. I know you were pretty bummed you weren't able to make it this year, but when we're talking mountain, it's kind of mountainous there in Florida where they're playing this event.
If you're from Florida, you consider that mountainous.
Yeah, it's not real mountains, but
No.
you think of Florida and flat and blah, blah, blah. But
It's
this
hilly.
Is lots of ups and downs. It's an absolutely epic piece of property. And over 200 players made it over there to Florida this weekend, 45 in the open division, including the Sexy Beast Tour, Paul Macbeth and Nate Sexton. And that's what it looked like early on in the event. It was going to be the Sexy Beast show with Sexton coming out a little hotter than Paul. But unfortunately for Nate, he was not able to hold Paul off. Paul went ham, final round, shot a 48. I don't think there was. Actually, I take that back. There were a few 49s during round 2, but 48 was an event best, 1077 rated round. Macbeth ended up beating Sexton by 4. Nate did hold on. Austin Turner, he left Texas and flew to Florida to try to repeat, hold it down. He did not, but he still played really well. Averaged probably close to 1040 golf. Qualified himself for the USDGC. But Austin finished in 3rd, McRae in 4th, Colin Forehand in 5th. This was a USDGC qualifier, so qualifying was Turner, Forehand, Heimberg, Good Pasture, and Ken Climo. Ken Climo finished tied for 7th with Charlie Good Pasture.
So Kenny can just be done until October now. I mean, I feel like he tries every year to get qualified, and then I know he's a busy man now, but I don't see him too often out on the tour clearly. So he's got his USDGC bid. He doesn't have to leave Florida now.
Yeah, we usually see Kenny out for the Memorial, but we did not see him make it out to Arizona this year for whatever reason. I imagine we'll still see him at some of the bigger events, maybe Tim Selensky Major. What else, Terry? Where do you think we might see the champ?
I mean,
you think we'll see him at Worlds, like Pro Worlds, and then play Masters?
I don't think so.
Worlds?
Yeah, he's got to be in Augusta.
It is close.
He plays so good in Augusta,
and it's only because it's close.
Only
the only
because
reason
he's good.
Oh well, yes, obviously because he's great. He's a great player too. But I only say that because it is close by to him, and why not try to double up? He's going to cash at Worlds. It just depends whether it's going to be for 400 or 1,000.
Yeah, I imagine he'll probably. I haven't looked at the Masters. I don't see he's not signed up for the Masters Cup right now. But in 2015, Climo played 12 total events, 8 Open, 4 Masters. Last year, 2016, he played in 8 events with 5 Open and 3 Masters. So I know he likes to go out for the Beaver State Fling. Maybe we'll see him go out for that. He's not currently signed up for the Masters Cup, which I know that he usually does go out for that. So maybe we'll see his name pop up there later. But maybe this is the trend will continue down. Let's take it a step further back to 2014. Only 9 events, 2014. So he's been pretty steady right around that 10 mark, above or below it. So
well, and the board right now out on YouTube for those that are maybe just catching up, or maybe you're an early or a first-time viewer or listener here tonight. If you're watching live, we frequently reference the board being our YouTube account. So if you're watching on youtube.com/smashboxtv/live, that's where we do most of our interacting. There is, of course, a broadcast taking place out on the Facebooks.
Yep.
But if you want to interact with what we're doing and what we can see, it's easiest. We just generally keep up with the chat board that's going on live at the time. So the board is saying, for what it's worth, Dana, that the champ is hurt. There's some people that have chimed in more than once saying that it's his hip and that he's hurt right now. And to what degree, or to how much I know that's true, or to what degree the injury is, I don't know. But that's what a few people are saying here on the board. So interesting to know.
Hopefully, he can get healthy, and we'll see him at least a couple of the Worlds, whether it's just the Masters World Championships, the Tim Selensky, and maybe Pro Worlds in Augusta. I think that he'll play Pro Worlds in Augusta if he's healthy. Johnny, do you think if he's healthy he'll play?
I think if he's healthy he'll play. I think he still has a fire in him, and he still feels like he has something to prove, and it would prove even more if he came out and finished like top. I don't think he thinks he can win these days. Oh, he probably thinks he can. I don't think he can win Worlds these days. I think he can take top 10, though. I just think that with the distance that these guys have, like Macbeth and Simon and Eagle, that he can't quite keep up with that. But he's a safe, smart golfer, and I think he could take top 10 without a problem if he's on. So,
Charles Lambert's login on the board said he literally hadn't thrown a disc in 5 months before teeing off at Throwdown the mountain. So That's
All right.
definitely telling you to the extent. Obviously, he has also taken very seriously his younger. I was going to say his younger family counterparts, but his daughter, and he has a different perspective on competition and real life, and and life outside of disc golf. So, very cool
So,
and interesting to see.
If you guys are wondering, if he hadn't picked up a disc in 5 months, he went 10-26, 10-17, 10-17. So,
So he still got it.
Just a hair below his player rating.
Speaking of still having it, Elaine King on the women's side at Throwdown the Mountain went wire to wire, got herself a pretty big win over Ellen Widboom and Jessica Hill. Elaine King went 932, 965, 906 to coast to a pretty easy win. She's a heck of a player. She's still got it. We see her play in the Open Women division and constantly winning in the Open Women division.
She's kind of like Schwebe in that she's just racking up victories in her area of the country, and then she'll step outside, compete against who we consider the top tier these days in Paige and Val and Kat, and she'll compete with them any weekend. So there's age.
Yeah,
age is just a number. Age is just a number.
Just a number.
6th place at Gentlemen's Club Classic for Elaine.
After being on the lead card actually as well.
She's on the lead card. So, but she's going to go down as one of, if not the greatest all-time women's player. I think Paige right now is on pace with her, with Paige's age and the trajectory that she's on. But right now, I would have a hard time not saying Elaine King is right up there. So,
yeah, without a doubt. So let's jump out to the West Coast to the St. Patrick's Classic. I know we've got Josh coming on later, but like Elaine, Josh did go wire to wire himself and get the victory, and he won by 8 throws over James Proctor, and then your boy Derek Billings. I hear you and Derek cool, or you guys got a bone to pick over that video?
I'm still good with it.
Video that hasn't seen it.
The famous 8-putt and 10-putt and walk.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I'm not the one who threw like 24 strokes around on the court.
You're gonna start.
Oh no, come on now. I'm good with D. Bill is all good. He should be all good, and I'm gonna follow that up and say I learned from one Steve Rico Little Spoon today that D. Bill's got the itch to get back out there and start hucking around with the best of them.
I'll believe that when I see it.
I think I think Derek Billings has an itch every year to do that. It's just a matter of actually going ahead and doing it, finding a consistent.
We'll get to it later with Josh, but I think you may see.
I was gonna say finding a partner to do it with.
The boys reunite. Josh, Steve, D. Bill. I think you're gonna see that that wrecking crew come out and do some damage this year. I'm just saying. There's your insider info.
That's a really interesting thought. Knowing those guys 5-8 years ago, like we did, they partied.
So I was about to say, Paige and Madison have been known over the last few years to have the most fun on tour. I'd say, watch out if those three are out on tour.
Yeah, maybe
they might overtake them girls as having most fun on tour. But yeah, D. Billings, lefty player. For those of you that don't know, you should know. Very good player, and apparently we might see him out and about a little bit more this year. Look forward to hearing more about that later. On the women's side, out in California, Jessica Weiss, again, wire to wire. She shot some really good golf.
Yeah.
I pull up the round ratings. 993 rated first round, 973 second, and then 948 final round. So 3 rounds well above her rating. Jessica Weiss is rated 943 at the moment. Great shooting. Finishing in second, Nicole Bradley, and then third place, KK, Christy King. Then I just want to give a quick shout out on the Masters side. I saw Shasta played really well, but not as good as Robert Bainbridge. Robert Bainbridge, first place Masters Division. Shasta finished in second. Shasta's been playing really good this year, bumping around, mostly in the Masters Division.
So I kind of noticed something, and I was just scrolling through the Open players. Jim Oates playing Open when he's of age to play Masters.
Grandmasters.
Oh, I wasn't going there because I wasn't sure. I knew he was close, but okay. So Grandmasters, and yet he cashes in the Open at 19 under par, which would have given him 5th place, about the same amount in Masters, and if he would have gone to Grandmasters, would have taken 2nd place for for a little bit more cash,
almost double the money.
So props to Jim Oates for stepping up and playing Open. I don't know if there was a particular reason, if the other divisions filled before he could get in, or he just decided Open was where he wanted to be this particular weekend. So that's that's
he's a good player.
He's a great player. He's a 992 rated player.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think what year it was. It might have been about 3 or 4 years ago. He took down Macbeth at an A tier in California. When Macbeth was, I think Paul had won Worlds that year, so this is probably 3-4 years ago. But Jim took him out, and Macbeth was having a great year, and Jim played up in the Open Division and won it. Heck of a player. He mostly throws. He does like a standstill type shot, crow hop. Very, very good player. PDJ number 3351. Been playing for a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would be very interested to hear what his logic was. Obviously, we know he's skilled. What'd you say? Rated 992.
992. Well, there were 68 Open players. So if you assume you're going to be able to take top 15.
You should sort by rating. This is, of course, all found on PDGA.com. If you sort by rating, he came in as roughly about the 10th or 12th rated.
About the 12th rated.
So he finished just about where his rating.
Yeah.
Where his rate, he played to his rating, so to speak. So, that's very interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to know that too. Maybe Josh will have some insight later when we catch up with him. That's very interesting.
Sure. And then, of course, there was a tournament down in Waco, Texas.
Have you ever been there, Dana?
No, and I really wanted to make I'd thought long and hard about making it to this one, but again, as I talked about last week with just having the kid and Ashley in school and Edith coming off being sick, it just was too much. But then Ashley said that Joanna from what show? Joanna Gaines was having some big flea market in Waco over the weekend, and Ashley would have loved to go, so we could have made it a whole family trip, but it missed our spring break by a week. So
yeah, there was quite the hubbub about that. That's an HG TV show, right, or something?
Yeah, is it What is it? Fixer Upper?
Something like that. All I know is there was
Skip and Joanna Gaines.
Flip this Fixer Upper swap house.
Yeah. Brothers. Yeah, I know that that was definitely part of what was going on there. There was a little extra. Yeah, there was a lack of hotel rooms, it seemed like, and just some other things were a little busier than normal apparently. And a lot of people were talking about that was part of what was going on down in that area. Well, I'm going to go before you go into the actual results and details. I first and foremost I do want to thank, besides obviously the Pro Tour, but Ryan Draper and Joey Harrell and Cameron Frymark and just the entire crew down there in Waco. They do an amazing job. They really care about what's going on. It sounds like it's just been years and years of passing the torch from one qualified person on to the next qualified person on to the next. And it's very apparent. I had a quick conversation with Jay Redding today, and I said, there's drama and there's politics in every disc golf community, everywhere I've gone, which has been a little bit relieving to learn it's not just my local one. And if they have it there, which I'm sure they do somewhere, it was hidden this weekend, and I didn't hear about it. And they did a really great job, and it's a really welcoming, warm community that embraces disc golf. Some people were making comparisons to like a larger populated Emporia, in that just the way people embrace disc golf, and the conversation I had with Jonathan Cook, who's the events coordinator for the city. Some may have seen the interview that I did with him for just a minute or two. Just a great guy that he was sharing the live link with city council members, and to have somebody care about it, at that level, that it's being passed around at the city council member level, I thought was really cool. So kudos, hats off, all of that stuff to the entire, I don't know if it's the Waco Disc Golf Association or Waco Club or just all of the people, everyone involved that had anything to do with it. So thank you to all of you guys. Go on with your findings in the competition.
All right. Are you trying to tell me this is a must-hit next year?
I don't. Steve Dodge made the comment very early. He's like, I love this community. I love the people around here. I love the disc golf. He's like, if I was going to put together a very short list of places I'd consider moving to, Waco would be one of those places right now. And to me, I think that's definitely telling. That Steve really felt that way. You know how Steve is about feelings and such, and but that does say a lot. Simon thinks Steve needs to get out and travel more, but it was his response to that, Simon Lazat. But I can see that because again, it's just a really great disc golf community in town, and to have two courses literally just across the river from one another, says something right there. Especially when one is championship caliber as it is being at the Beast, which is Brazos East. Has nothing to do with Paul Macbeth. Go on.
Well, all right. So this was a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, but there were other pro divisions, and then they actually had some AM divisions as well. AM players actually finished out on Sunday. Kind of a unique format. I think we might have touched on it last week, but a lot of players, total 235. On the women's side, it was a showdown all weekend between Paige Pierce and Sarah Holcomb. Paige came out firing. Her first round, really good. 10-13 rated, shot a 60, while Sarah shot a 65, 976. So it kind of looked like Paige was going to run away with it, but then Sarah stayed really strong, seemed to stick to her game plan, shot another 65. So cut a couple off. Again, Paige still well in control. Final round, all of a sudden, Sarah's got a clean card. She's got a couple birdies. Paige has got some bogeys, and they were tied at one point before Sarah kind of hit the bogey train, and Paige kind of got tough with it and finished strong and ended up beating Sarah by 4 in that final round to win by 7 overall. But it was a really close battle, closer than the numbers would indicate, and it was fun watching it during the men's coverage. And again, great job with that to the Dodges and Terry and Johnny and Gary O for splicing the women's coverage in during the men's. It was fun watching those two play. But great shooting Paige. She remains perfect on the year. Sarah gets another second place finish. Texas's own Stephanie Vincent had a solid final round, finished in third, and tied for fourth, Katrina and Madison Walker. So good shooting to all the ladies there. And again, heck of a battle between Sarah and Paige. I don't doubt that this will be the last one we see of those two this year, and we'll see if Sarah or one of these other girls can close the gap on Paige and maybe even beat her.
Well, Dana, you said, what I'll follow on that is, you said exactly what Sarah said to me at one point after it all wrapped up. She's like, our final score doesn't really show just how close it was and what kind of a battle it was. And I said, I know. I was watching the scores, and I may have misspoke in thinking that Sarah actually claimed the outright lead by a stroke at one point. And whether it was or just a tie for the lead, either way, it was definitely a battle as they were fighting through that. Mm-hmm. And Paige, kept it together and knew that once she got out into the open, she'd kind of have a little bit more of an advantage. And, with the distance and just a little bit more of a comfort level, she was saying. So when she did get out into the open and finished on those last 6 holes, that was exactly where she, then made the breakaway, so to speak. So
yep. Yep.
Are we going to pick top 2 at Pro Worlds as Page and Hokum with those courses?
It's definitely tough to say.
I mean, just because with as good as Hokum, I mean, I'm not counting Kat out by any means. I'm just saying with as good as Sarah is in the woods, it's hard to beat her. And those other girls just don't seem to have, the other women don't seem to have the touch that she does in the woods. She seems to be able to shape shots better than Kat and Paige.
Well, to further elaborate on that, Paige said during the awards, she turned to Sarah and said, I saw you throwing lines I've never seen any other men or women ever execute in those woods today.
Sure.
And so very complimentary of her. She knows that she has a distinct advantage on her, especially when it comes to those, if you're talking 300 feet and in, especially, and in the woods, Sarah has what seems like a few more tools at her disposal right now, or at least execution, and so Paige was very, very much recognized just that. It was interesting to see throughout the weekend, and I know I harped on it a little hard, but it still amuses me that I watched 3 rounds of golf, and on the single shortest hole of the course, which is still a very fair fairway. If it was like a hokey fairway, I'd understand, but it's not. It's 213 feet, and I think the 3 rounds total combined, I watched 3 featured cards of open men, and I think they shot it in either par or 1 over on the single shortest hole at this entire tournament.
And it's not an unfair hole.
And it's not even unfair, and there was just there was a couple bogeys and a lot of pars. So having that touch shot was very critical. Jay Redding said today, he's like, I killed it in the woods, but I just was on just outside that circle's edge, and that's where everybody else got me, when we got to the open areas. But
and I think and clearly that's, and I don't know exactly how the courses are laid out for Worlds, but I think that's where Paige has the advantage clearly over Sarah. She can outdrive Sarah. I think she has a little bit better control with her distance, but when it comes to accuracy and shot shaping,
yeah,
there's a reason Hokum won in Charlotte.
Well, and to drive this final point home, maybe on the women's side, sorry, Dana, I would just say that I'm not counting Kat out. She had a rough start. No. She came in so strong at the end of the weekend. I talked to her afterwards. I just think there's a little minor hiccup there somewhere, and it's going to take one weekend for her to bust back out of it, and she'll be just fine.
On one of the other podcasts I was listening, I think it was the Ultra World one.
There's other podcasts?
There are. They were saying that Kat is having a problem because of her distance. She gained distance, and now she hasn't quite toned in the rest of her game. So once she gets that done, I'm not counting her out by any means. I was just bringing up the fact that I think Hokum might have a distinct advantage in some of these more wooded courses. So, Dana, let's talk about the Open division here.
Yeah, the Open division. If you weren't following along on UDisc, all right, let me take a step back. Great coverage, guys. We watched all 3 rounds. It was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event, and Jeremy Colling came out really strong and had himself the lead going into the final round. Also on the lead card was Simon Lizotte, Ricky Wysocki, and was it Greg Barsby?
Yes, on the final round, Barsby was.
So pretty exciting card. A lot of fun to watch, and Jeremy looked like he was running away with it. And if you weren't following along on UDisc, you didn't know that James Conrad from the second card was absolutely shredding.
And Miles Seaborn. I mean, at one point, I think they were both 14 down or 15. 14, I think they were both like 14 down at one point after 15 or 16 holes. It was kind of ridiculous. I don't think Miles really had a chance to beat Conrad and to win, but he was looking at that number 2 spot for a little bit, right on Colling's heels.
Yeah, definitely. They were applying the pressure from the second card. Terry, can you comment at what point Germ might have known about James's, I guess, and Miles' hot starts or hot rounds that were going on?
I wasn't paying as much attention to. I didn't see when he was looking at his phone, so to speak. all of the players, of course, thanks to UDisc, all of the players, if they choose to look at their phone, they can see where everyone is. And I know that Simon, multiple times throughout the round, he would kind of peek over my shoulder. I was looking, I think it was right before they were going to tee on 18. Simon came up and he's like, "Oh, what are you looking at?" And I, showed him, and he wanted to see the scores. I said, "I'm looking at these." He's like, "Oh my God!" And I think I commented during the actual broadcast where he's like, "These guys aren't screwing up. What's going on? Like, I need to get going. Like, they're, oh my gosh, I'm in like 5th now or 7th or whatever." And he certainly was paying attention or had recognized what was happening. I don't recall about Big Germ specifically, but I know Simon was definitely made himself aware of it. Not that there was much you can do. He was basically saying they're playing lights out golf and not making any mistakes, and clearly he felt like he had. So.
Yeah, and Germ wasn't even playing that clean during his round. He
missed some easy putts.
No one was shredding on the lead card, but Germ still had the lead. At one point he missed 2 putts in the circle in a row, and you saw some frustration, and then towards the end, I think when I have to imagine Germ knew that he was losing. Conrad had actually taken the lead, and Germ was not. He wasn't making shots, and then all of a sudden he hit that eagle putt, and it's like, oh man, Germ's back in it. And it was just amazing to watch, and you guys got the camera on the second card to follow James and Miles, and it was an insane finish. It ended up Germ went eagle. Was it eagle, birdie, birdie, birdie to finish?
Eagle. It would have been eagle, birdie, birdie.
Yeah. Okay. So eagle, birdie, birdie to finish, just to tie James, who James actually bogeyed the 17th hole of the round, and then went and birdied the final hole to finish his round and apply the pressure to Germ. And Germ stepped up and went for the green on this bigger. It's a par 3. It's par 4, but a shorter par 4. But you have to bomb over the water. And Germ had to look for eagle and the win, but laid it up and took it to a playoff.
Well, it was, and some people are asking on the board or talking about it. Last year we had a little bit different structure in that we kind of had the 2 cameras usually on the lead card, and then we would have another kind of roaming camera, and we tried to work that in when we could. And just the way the things are slightly restructured, especially with having the women's coverage spliced in this year, things are designed differently. And so it was really Steve Dodge who had sent me a message as we were on the first par 5, so that would have been hole 15. He sent a text to me saying, "Hey, is there a way we could split up the cameras?" And, of course, you're going to sacrifice the throw and the catch capabilities, but the way Conrad was shooting and Miles on the card as well, it was really a no-brainer to say, okay, well, we're not going to be able to give you as many angles possibly, and we are working with a new guy in Cameron Frymark, but that guy is a pro beyond all pros. And Cameron Frymark didn't have an earpiece to really know when he was on or off, and our newer camera guy and Chad kind of had to direct, and a lot of stuff was on the fly there, and from the most part, what I heard for feedback from a lot of people is that it worked, and so that's just a pat on the back to the guys that were able to adjust, and I know Steve was appreciative of it, and we know everything, I'm sure, was not perfect. I'm sure you screwed up plenty.
I messed up a little bit, I'm sure. Just the technology, as we always say, the signal was a little rough in some of the wood spots and this and that, but I'm sure we can talk about that later.
Yeah, exactly. But
we're not here to discuss the broadcast itself.
Exactly. I just wanted to say that was the whole idea of being able to do the split to then catch up with the hot action, and that's exactly what Steve Dodge's vision is.
And that's and my thought was, I didn't mind showing Miles, but he wasn't in the lead, so I usually cut over when we saw Conrad. And he's easy to spot with the ponytail, so I knew right away when he was coming up, so I would show Conrad. Everyone would get to see what he's doing, and he just wasn't missing. He was putting them all inside the circle, and when he didn't, it was just outside, and he was draining putts. It was fun to watch, and I don't normally when I watch the golf, it's not that exciting to me because I'm just seeing shot after shot, and I don't really care. This was actually relatively exciting and nerve-wracking.
What did you think, as we'll kind of wrap things up with you here, Dana, what did you think as they were moving? We realized the playoff was imminent. It happened. It was, we had to stand down for a few minutes. We all got over into position. First playoff hole, what were you thinking?
You know what, I like James. It didn't work out for him as he threw out of bounds, but I like James' move. He threw the shot that he felt comfortable with. He was trying to apply the pressure to Germ. If that shot's in bounds, stays in bounds, like he almost rang that putt up. So I mean, he's got to look for eagle, easy birdie, and all the pressure is squarely put on Germ's shoulders. And then in the same breath, he was so far up there, he's going to get a 4 with the possibility of a 3 no matter what. So Germ still, it's not like it was just handed to him. Germ still had to make a really great drive and then a strong upshot to secure the win. So it didn't work out for James this time, but I liked the play. I liked being aggressive on that. Clearly that's the shot he was comfortable with and he went with, and he just barely missed it. It would have been nice to see the playoff go 3 or 4 holes or however many. Make Terry get some more steps in. But no, it was an exciting finish, and if you're just finding out about James Conrad now, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, then you haven't been watching last year.
Yeah, sure. He was a breakout player last year. So far this year, he finished 21st at the Memorial, obviously second here at Waco. How he's doing it, he's parking a lot of holes. He's parked 23% of his holes, thanks to UDisc, ranked 12th in that, 19th in fairway hits, so he's hitting 80% of his fairways. And I can tell you that in the woods, he's doing most of that with an AVR.
Yep.
He's definitely
with the
AVR. Best AVR throwers in the world right now. I'd say that used to be maybe Mike Mosier. It's James move over Mike Mosier. James Conrad is here and apparently in his prime. So I can remember I know everyone's antsy to get to Anthon, but I played with James Conrad at Charlotte Worlds, and he came out and played Nevin, this really tough wooded course, blind. And it's just this long-haired guy ripping an AVR. I'm like, who is this guy? And he shredded the course blind with literally threw an AVR the whole time. And I'm like, what is happening? I got this whole bag of discs here, and I'm throwing 10 more times than this freak. But no, he's really good at disc golf, really good at throwing an AVR, and I'm excited to see him up at the top and performing well. And we're sure we'll be seeing him some more on the Disc Golf Pro Tour this year.
Well, we certainly will be, and it's going to be exciting. And Dana, you no longer do this. You haven't had the segment too much lately. Last but not least, I think we can all collectively very much extend a Smashbox TV big hug to Nico LaCastro. Car accident, gets there late, gets the 16 strokes, which is a whole nother conversation for way later, which I'm excited to have. But, the penalty conversation. But 16 strokes, battles back, shoots some of the best golf out of everyone for the remaining, 50 holes of competition, arguably. Some amazing golf, and then comes up one single stroke short of cashing after starting 16 over par, which some may even argue was almost like a 18 or 20 over par, considering the ease of some of those holes. But anyway, 16 over par, and I saw him at a watering hole Friday night, and he has a super great attitude and a good outlook on life, and had some funny insights. But seriously, a big hug. If there's ever been a time to give the big hug, it's when somebody gets into a car accident. Thankfully, he's all right, but then misses the cash by a stroke after battling so hard. So,
and that was just incredible. Like he came to the course after missing the first 4 holes and
birdie.
Shredded. He was just shredding, and then
we know clearly he has the capability to do it.
Yeah.
I just think that at that point there's no pressure. Like you're out there almost playing a casual round, or just literally trying to beat the course, because you probably can't beat the other players.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll learn something from this.
Yeah, I was gonna say this could be
this could be a trigger that says, okay, this is maybe how I need to attack courses more often. Really, just go at them instead of, I think I'm gonna lay up and play smart here. Just attack. Maybe that's a mentality he can take from here on out, because it seemed to work. He said, I was going for everything. Why not?
Yeah. And I think for what Nico, it boils down to is putting the disc in the basket inside of the circle. That's if he's going to make those putts, it takes the pressure off everything and gets him out of his head. But maybe this whole thing will, like you said, be a wake-up call and kind of push him in the right direction in whatever life and disc golf and all that. But if he's making his putts, he's up there with Paul, Ricky, and all those guys. So
he is every year at Worlds. So
yeah.
Yep. With that said, thank you guys. I'm really looking forward to the next segment. As I said, I'm gonna stay awake for this one.
Oh, thanks, Dana.
Oh, wow. We feel so honored.
blessed.
You along with
offense.
almost a
I
record
love hanging out
crowd.
with Smashies and all that, but usually I'm pretty tired. But yeah.
Well, we have a record crowd ready to get you to be quiet so that we can get to Josh Anthon. But no, thank you. Thanks for the insights. Thanks for chiming in and watching this weekend and providing the feedback when you can. And we look forward to seeing and hearing from you more, buddy.
All right, fellas. We'll see you.
Thanks,
all right,
Dana.
Have a good night. See you, Dana. Please. All right. We're gonna work with Josh, who we hopefully will be coming in just a few moments. We're going to be working with him on Google Hangouts, which, as some of you know, is an alternative that we've used to the Skype. I think that'll work best for Josh. We tested with him a little earlier. It sounds like that should be all good to go. So we appreciate him also. I told him it'd be right around 17 minutes ago. So hopefully he's going to be available and ready to go here in just a few moments.
Yeah, as a lot of people were saying on the board, Nico was a fantasy killer.
Yes, myself included.
It's unfortunate to Thankfully, he ended up taking what place out of
like 34th.
34th. So you
like
lost, let's just say, 30 points on Nico. Easy to make that up throughout the year. I think that you pick up a pretty good FPO pick that maybe other people aren't seeing, and you're going to be able to make up another 15 to 20 there. It's definitely not a death sentence for you. It does hurt, though, definitely. I mean, I'm thankful fantasy-wise I didn't pick him. And he hurt a lot of people in the Survivor pool, as I think I told you, where every week you have to pick a different player, and you can't repeat. So at the Memorial, it was Yuli that was the killer, and now at WACO, Nico because of that. So I went with Miles Seaborn because I figure I'm gonna dig a little deeper in the field because it was a slightly shallower field. So I'm glad because he ended up taking 5th, I think. So
well, either way, yes. Again, Nico, such a battle. When I saw him on Friday night, so there was a party on the bridge, the suspension bridge, the oldest bridge in Texas, oldest suspension bridge, correction. And there was a great party down there. A lot of people had a really good time, and then it happened to be St. Patrick's Day, so there were a lot of people out taking in, what else downtown Waco had to offer. And I think we were at Crickets, where I think I ran into a majority. I think we counted 4 of the top 7 players in the tournament were hanging out, enjoying themselves on the men and women's side. And it was a lot of fun, and Nico definitely had a different look on things, and I'm excited to see what he's got in store for us this year. So without further ado, we are going to bring on your champion from this weekend from the other side of the country, out in California.
Not so much other side.
Okay, well,
from right in the center in Texas over to Cali.
Okay, from California, we're going to welcome Josh Anthon to the show. How you doing tonight, Josh?
I'm doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well. We're here. It's a typical Tuesday night for us, and we talk stats, we talk winners, we talk big stories in disc golf, and
there's really not a bigger story in disc golf than you right now.
Yeah, tell us what's going on.
Nothing much. Just got done doing a little bit of size in, trying to stretch my knee out, and then I went and picked up one of my cars tonight. But besides that, just getting ready for some tournaments.
Well, so I'll elaborate. For starters, one of the things that some people may not know about you, or for plenty of people who don't know you that well, you're a car guy, and cars are very much a part of the fabric of your being. You restore them, you sell them, you trade them. You do also if it's related to cars, especially powerful cars. Tell us about it.
Muscle cars, would you say?
Yeah, definitely like the muscle cars. 67 through 69 Camaros, almost all older Chevelles, ending at 72, of course.
Yeah.
And
of course.
Some Novas, C10s, definitely the ones I like.
What got you into cars? I don't want to sidetrack too much, but what got you into cars, and how did you learn so much about them and stay interested?
Well, I've always liked them since I was younger. So I've always been interested in cars and kind of one of my other passions. Nothing like I like disc golf, of course, but definitely one of the passions and something I can help the family out with, and we all get to work together on them and things like that.
Okay. So you also just mentioned something that's very, very crucial to you and to the disc golf game, which is you just had knee surgery just a few weeks ago. How do you feel, and how in the world do you go out and win an A tier with a knee that's still in recovery?
I actually had knee surgery December 15th.
Okay.
But it was acting up a lot about 2 weeks ago. I was having a lot of trouble walking. I went out to play and practice, and I kept hurting it. I would play one hole and have to come back and quit. And then I took about a week to week and a half off. And then I went out and threw probably last Tuesday, around that, Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was able to finish 9 holes. And not only finish it, but they felt great. And so then I took another couple of days off, about a day, and I played about 22 holes and finished that and felt pretty good even afterward. And so that gave me a lot of encouragement. So then I decided not to pull out of the tournament and continue to play. I practiced a little bit Thursday and then ended up playing the event. We got my son. He's going to join in.
All right.
Say
And, hey, Noah, how you doing, buddy?
He's gonna play the quiet game for a short minute there.
That's how kids are. The minute you want them to talk, they silence up. But when the 2 seconds you want them to be quiet, they won't shut up.
Well, Noah, I think celebrated his birthday along with you yesterday.
Oh,
Johnny.
really? Yesterday's birthday? Welcome.
Yeah, he turned 2 yesterday.
Well, happy birthday, Noah. Thanks. You share a birthday with me, and the first day of spring. So
About once he grows about 9 feet taller, he'll be your height.
yeah, well, yeah. I've seen Josh. I don't think he's getting to be my height.
Yeah, he got a birdie with me out there at St. Patty's.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
Yeah, I saw one of the videos. Talk about that quickly. I think it was a caddy or somebody who was filming, and all of a sudden you were just about to tee off, and he comes running up when you were just about to tee.
Yeah, so I let him stay on the tee with me, and then I threw the shot, came up a little short. I'm actually about 100 feet short. And then my caddy asked me what I'm going to do here, and I told him I'm going to try to throw it in, and threw it right in.
Josh, if there's for those who may not know you, you're a tell it how it is kind of guy. I mean, you say what you're going to do, and you do what you're going to say, and there's really never been any beating around the bush. I mean, if you go back to old videos, you put it out there like it is. What is it about disc golf that brings out that competitive spirit in you, that gives you that drive to come out and challenge with the best in the world?
Hey, Terry.
Yeah.
Something happened here.
Oh.
Can't,
No, you're good.
We can still hear you. We just lost your video.
Did you? Yeah, you hit a
I
little.
can barely hear.
Okay.
Oh,
Hold on, everyone.
yeah. Hopefully, Josh just clicks on the link again. Oh,
Yep. There you go.
we can hear you, Josh.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Is there?
Do I have to have it where you can see me, or can I put it to my ear?
It would be better if we could see you, but we could make whatever work.
Okay, I had someone beep in, and there's my dad beeping in, and after that, I can't hear no more.
Well, I was gonna say, well, if you want, you can click end the call and then click that link again and call back, and we can get back just like we were.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, let me see. Oh, and maybe join will do it.
Yeah.
Let me see, 1 second. Allow.
Hi, Josh is on an interview on the phone.
Family affair.
Yep.
I know
Are,
Hello?
hey,
Yeah,
Josh.
we're here.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, we can. If you want to just do this over the phone, we can do that too.
Yeah, I can hear you guys now, but now I can't see you guys.
Well, like I said, you can always. You can always, like I said, you can always end the call and then click that link again and join back in, or we can just do it like this. It doesn't really matter.
That's almost like giving up.
Well, not a little bit, but I mean, you're coming right back. It's not.
Yeah, no, just hit end call and then hit that link again, and you should bring it right back, and we'll make it work.
Okay, and I'm trying to, it ain't even finding that. Ongoing call there. There we are. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right. Hopefully you can see me somehow.
Nope.
Nope. Yeah, is there any chance you turned off your video? Is there like a
camera picture?
camera icon?
Oh, there you
go.
are. Perfect.
Hey-o.
We got you back.
Got it first try.
All right.
Awesome.
Yes, that was your first try. All right. So I was asking about your competitive spirit and what drives you. I mean, if we go back to videos years ago, you shot this amazing round at the fountain, and the first thing you said is, "That's nothing. You know, Ken Climo's the real champ, and I got a lot of other people to chase down before I'm the best." So where does that competitive spirit come from?
Don't really know. Just kind of had it the whole time.
All right. So when you came back out this weekend, you're officially rated 1043, which dates back to 2014, where you won all 5 events you played in. You're rated 1043, which is 3rd in the world. What are your goals in terms of the Wysockies and the Macbeths and the McMahons and the Sextons? Do you care about any of those guys, or do you just care about improving your game and dominating courses?
Well, I care a lot about those guys. But, I care about what their rating is, care about them in general. They're doing good out there. I'm real proud of those guys. They represent the sport very well. They play awesome. But they are ahead of me, and that's the one part I don't like about them.
Yeah.
What's
their rating right now?
Like 1051 and 1049
Yeah,
or something
Macbeth
like
is 1051, Ricky's 1049, you're 1043, I believe.
So it looks like I need to improve by 9 points.
which is about a stroke per round, roughly.
Yep.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
So you took a hiatus from the sport, so to speak. You came back this past weekend. You shot 1040 plus rated golf. Where did you see the weakness in your game? Because anyone shooting 1040, a lot of people from the outside look at that and say, "My God, it's like he never left." Where do you see where you need to improve yet?
Well, part of it was, I was just so happy to play. It made it so much easier. After each round, everyone's, "What's your plans for next round?" For me, it was the finish, because my knee was still giving me so much trouble. And then, but part of the weakness was my drives felt real good the first 2 rounds. The 3rd round, it seemed to fall off a little bit. My putt is still a little bit sketchy. I made a lot of putts still, but it just didn't quite feel right yet, if that makes any sense. I can make a putt and it not feel right. Mm-hmm. And eventually that leads to more missed putts.
Sure.
Now,
so I have a lot more field practice to do and a lot more putting in the yard to do.
Now, you're known as one of the best putters to ever play the game. Do you feel like you've adjusted your putt at all, or is it just like riding a bike, or any difference whatsoever?
No, not really. No real difference. Just have to train to get a little bit of the feel back, the muscle memory. Sometimes, like for a while, I was having a lot of trouble. I'd go to putt it, and the putt would feel like it just fell out of my hand instead of released right. And then I would overcorrect and grip it too much, and then miss it to the right. And so I was doing a lot of back and forth for a while there.
Okay. Now,
with just practice and training, it slowly started coming back and feeling better.
well, and when I asked you earlier today, and a lot of people, of course, want to know, you're good friends with Steve Rico, who obviously him and Bamba and the rest of the crew, part of Legacy, but you said that you plan to continue to throw the discs that are most successful for you, and right now, you're the exact same Innova bag that you put down a couple years ago. You picked right back up, and you didn't change out a single disc, and that's going to continue to be your plan until something else comes up?
Yeah, I don't think nothing's going to come up. I think that's going to be my plan all the way through. I'm luckily blessed enough to not have to fully depend on disc golf to survive. So I want to just be able to have as many advantages as I can. If it's the Frisbees that I like and I feel they're better, then I'm going to throw those.
Okay. So
if I felt there was one Frisbee that was better that I wanted from someone else, then I would throw that disc.
and that's not a lot of our pros are in that position.
No.
I mean, I think it's fair to say there's some guys that, maybe play for, I'll say, DD or Prodigy or wherever, that may say, man, I really wish I could throw a Destroyer. Or there's a guy on, Innova that says, oh, man, I really wish I could putt with a PA4 or whatever. I mean, everyone's got, you have that luxury right now to be throwing really whatever you want. Talk a little bit about those discs in your bag. You said to me today that you have a new AVR that's 11 years old or something like that. What are the discs that are in your bag?
Just my typical disc, my Leopard, the old CE Leopards, the old CE Eagles, the 11-time Firebird, and the Anthon Excalibur. That's hard to find.
Yeah.
Pick one up if you can out there. My Race, my Bosses, a Roadrunner for the power rollers, a real beat-up Leopard, and one of my little signature discs, my roller putter.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Now, obviously, back a number of years ago, some of the new things that Innova was doing was creating these Tour Series discs that were helping out some of the top-tiered players like yourself. And I'm sure you're aware of it. The swirly Anthon Destroyers at some point just became incredibly difficult to get your hands on and are very, I don't want to say inflated because it's just where the market is, but they're worth a lot of money right now. What do you have to say about that?
I appreciate everyone's support out there that's bought in the Anthon disc and throws it and uses it. But it blew my mind how much it went up in value. Definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and they get exchanged on Facebook and everywhere else literally daily, and they're usually anywhere between like $150 and a $400 disc because they're usually super swirly, and they were said to be a little bit more overstable than some of the other Destroyers. And do you want some of those? Should people be reaching out if they have them? Do you want any of those to throw or no?
Not necessarily. I just would recommend they either use them or save them, whatever they're into. Some people like to collect, just kind of like an older car. Some people buy a real expensive older car and park it in their garage forever. Some people buy a real expensive older car and drive it every single day. It's what they're into. Personally, I like throwing them.
Okay. I totally agree. It's funny that we have this. I'm a hoarder. I've got a lot of discs, and to see them go up and down in price, and with me never throwing anymore, it doesn't impact me as much. But just to see, where yours are all the time. Now, there's a lot of rumors and people out on the board, and just a lot of genuine questions about, you just said that your sponsorship is, or you're not sponsored. Do you foresee any kind of a relationship with Innova, and whose ball, whose court is that ball in? That's what I'm trying to spit out.
Well, that's going to be in their court and their decision.
Okay.
I don't hold any hard feelings towards them having to let me go or anything like that. They're a big business and they have decisions to make, and so whatever decision they made is that, and they have to stick with it. If they change their mind, I'll be here and open to it because I'm still throwing their discs. They still fly great for me. So it's just up in the air on it.
Have you had any communication with Jonathan Poole in the past couple months? Have you talked to them
Or
at all?
Sam Ferens
or Sam
or-
Ferens or
I talked to a couple of them. They know there's no hard feelings and stuff like that.
okay. Did you expect to come out to the St. Patty's Day Classic and shoot like you did? I mean, having not played a tournament.
I was hoping to shoot a little better. No. I was absolutely thrilled with how I played. That was just, I was throwing shots just real clean, right in the center of the fairways. Making some good pressure putts. It really felt great just to be out there competing and playing again. I was truly happy with how I played.
Well, I got to say, when I asked you earlier today, I said, what was it about this weekend when you were out there? And you said it's, your change of, outlook and attitude and mentality. But you said the basket's just so big. I mean, not everybody thinks that. I mean, clearly you must have felt like you had a confidence there that not all the other players have right now.
Yeah, well, they got to measure that basket, and it's pretty big.
I don't think they've gotten any bigger in the past couple of years.
I mean, if it looks big to you, again, that's a good thing.
Maybe your discs are smaller. I don't know, but so coming back from the extended break that you had, how has your outlook changed on touring, on golf in general, or what? Like, what are you looking forward to, and are you going to be able to tour this year?
Yeah, I got permission to be able to travel. I can go to the events here in the United States. I plan on playing the World Championships. I signed up for Beaver State. I'm gonna try to play the U.S. Open. I'm gonna definitely try to play as many events as I can. And the outlook on it, I appreciate it more than I ever have. Being out there on the course, being around my friends, really getting to step back. Even while I was in the lead, I would just step back and smile, sitting there with a group of friends, getting ready to play for the win of St. Patty's. It was, it kind of really was beside myself, be in that position this soon too. I didn't expect to win. I was happy to be able to play.
Yeah.
The winning was a huge bonus, so it definitely put the icing on the cake.
So we talked about it earlier with Dana, and I let the cat out of the bag a little because I talked to Steve earlier today. He said, with some of your plans coming up, that we might see you and maybe a little D. Bill and possibly Steve Rico out on the tour a little bit. Is that kind of in the works?
Yeah, I plan for them to see the real Steve Rico, though. Not the one that's been out there. He's much better than that. He just has to put his mind to it and really focus. He needs to take some time out and practice hard and get ready for these events.
Well, he didn't have you to push him.
And then yeah, we always have pushed each other.
Yeah.
So hopefully I could help push him and myself to play in these events and play like we can.
Yeah, Steve has very openly talked about, whether it's on our show or to me or to a lot of people, about the tolls of owning the company, of owning Legacy, and doing kind of the day-to-day work. He's in disc golf full time, but he's doing a lot of other things besides practicing, besides playing, besides touring, and even as good as he is, it still catches up with him once in a while. So I think it'd be great to see. Now, and Derek. Johnny kind of said earlier, it seems like Derek always kind of talks about getting back out there, but yeah, are you gonna drag him out there with you?
Yeah, he throws real good for throwing with the wrong arm. I mean, it's amazing. If he threw with the right arm, we wouldn't even have a chance. He does that for a challenge, I think.
So we've hung out in the past, and we've seen in the past how Josh and Steve and Derek Billings, how they treat tournaments as weekends and way to go out and have fun. Do you see that changing now? I mean, you have a wife and a kid, and when you travel to these different tournaments, are you going to be treating them differently? Is the nightlife going to be different for you?
Oh no more nightlife.
No more
All
nightlife.
That's done.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there for the tournament and the tournament only. I mean, we'll go out to a nice restaurant, but we're gonna be there to focus and have fun on the course and in practice. And I even talked to Steve about that. If we're gonna go into it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Not, hey, let's go do this and not feel good in the morning or whatever the case is. I mean, I personally don't drink no more, and so I haven't drank in a long time, so I'm planning on keeping it that way. But if I might travel with the person, I kind of want whoever it is to be on the same type of page. Because
Sure.
Steve was a great golfer. I've learned a lot from him, and he's definitely not playing to his potential right now.
Yeah, I think he just needs to. I don't want to say get on the straight and narrow, but I think a little direction in the right way might help him out a little bit. Not that he's a bad guy, we all know that, but I think if he dialed in, if he focused a little harder, I think we'd see the Steve Rico of old. Tell us about your outlook, and you kind of just gave us a little insight to it, but you've come to terms with religion, with your maker. You have a different outlook. And earlier today, you said, God is the best sponsor, and I think that speaks volumes. How does that change how you're going to move forward playing the sport that we all love?
Well, I'm going to try to use every opportunity for people to also hear about the Lord in it, because it is what's helped change me. It is what helped give me the better outlook. And, at the end of the day, you can't get a better sponsor than that. Once you find that and you have that in your heart, it's really hard to take that away from someone. And so I'm blessed, and I thank the Lord each day that I get these opportunities to talk to you guys, to be here with my son, my wife, and to be back here to play Frisbees again. And many other things I can't imagine that I thank him for.
Yeah. You, again, that new outlook, and I think it's refreshing for everyone, and regardless of where the start or the reset button ever gets hit for anyone at any point, I think it's always great when there is one, and to every individual, I think that means something different, and I think that's awesome for you. What do you feel like maybe the game's been missing besides you? But I mean, what do you feel like? You were always passionately talking about where the game and where it was and what it needed, and now here we are a few years later. If you're all caught up, where do you feel like the game still needs improvements? Not your game, but I mean the sport. Maybe that's a better way to put it. The sport needs improvements.
No, I understand the question. Yeah, of where the game should go and where the sport should grow at, and it's definitely starting to move in the right directions. Like talking to you with on these, people seeing this, hearing about disc golf more instead of worried about just getting the prize up on the tournament. Let's make it $1,500 for first instead of $1,200. It's not really making no real difference. It's not adding zeros to the paychecks. It's not exposing the game. Getting it out there on all the internet that we can, any of the small TV shows that we can, really expanding the game, getting some quality courses in there, and so everyone can see the hard work that everyone's putting into this game. And before, I didn't appreciate it enough. I would just tell them all the bad things about their tournament instead of give them the props on the good things they did. And so I realized that too, and apologized to anyone that I might have offended before. But they did a lot of hard work, but sometimes they weren't guided in the right way and things like that. So seeing all these new tours and stuff like that, that's a real big improvement. I would like to see them come together a little bit more, especially for like the World Championships or something like that. That should just be like all the people that run all the tours should put more of their focus into that, and just let's make this World Championship. We're representing disc golf. This is the Disc Golf World Championships. Let's make it really seem like that. That's one of the things I've always wanted to see. And hopefully it does. And I haven't seen it in years, so maybe it has. And I just haven't seen it yet.
Well, we go ahead.
But hopefully I'll get to see it this year.
Well, and I was just going to say, I look back at, last year's at the Glass Blown, and I'm not going to, second guess any worlds because I know what it takes to run one, but I look at like the Glass Blown last year, or I'm sorry, in Emporia where Dynamic Disc put on the worlds. We were there twice. And I think of how, they were doing the fundraisers to try and raise the purse, especially on the women's side, help growing the women's game that much more, how our purses are growing, how the media continues to grow. I mean, everybody wants both the purses and the media to grow faster, but here we are, and it is growing. We just we hope it's all growing in the right direction, and we want it to grow as quickly as possible. So I think we continue to be on the right track. It's just always going to be a matter of, are we getting there fast enough?
Yeah, because the more we have exposure, the more we have to offer when we approach another business for sponsorship. That way we're not asking for sponsorship and they're wondering why. Well, how many people are going to be watching, they'll ask. Oh, we got 5,000 people or 10,000 people. They can put up a billboard on the side of the freeway and get that in 2 days.
Sure.
And so they don't feel much willingness to put in their money. But then the more we're exposed and the more everyone's talking about it and hearing about it, they want to get their stamp in there, their name in there. And that's when they, $100,000 to them or $500,000 to them on the bigger sponsorships wouldn't even blink an eye at it if they felt they're going to get the right exposure for it. Then you're talking about a business deal and not begging for change.
Well, I'm going to tell a quick story about, again, a lot of people that didn't know you from back in the day that maybe are just meeting you now, especially even a lot of our newer fans and viewers who are tuning in on a night like tonight. Back around 2011, we were at the USDGC. You and Steve Rico and a number of us other guys were there, and we were going back and forth, and you had received a pretty hefty players pack, as the USDGC is known for, and we were negotiating the idea of me purchasing it from you so that I could then potentially sell it and make a few dollars. And it was near the end of the week. You had looked at me, and we were talking about the video work I was doing. That was very early in the Disc Golf Guy video career. And you came to the realization through our conversations that I essentially wasn't getting paid to be there. I was there on my own time, my own dime, doing all my own filming. Everything was at my own cost. And after this talking throughout the whole week, you then said, here, just take my player pack and sell it. You need to make some money for being here. You're the one that's, working hard. And I will never forget that moment, because it speaks to how genuine you are, but also how much you're speaking the message even today that we need to help grow, and you believe things like media and video, and those are ways that we can help our sport grow, because once the video and once all the media gets bigger, everybody is going to benefit from that. And I'm not just trying to make a plug for, the work we do, but I mean, if we can get the exposure out there, every single player will ultimately gain from that. And you've been saying that for a long time.
That's what everyone has to realize. That's what I've always said that. Like, I couldn't believe that you weren't getting paid a thing. That's why I couldn't wait to give you the players package. It was a small token. It was something that was just going to probably sit in my attic, like the one I just found recently, and not be used. But when you could use it and put it towards all the work you're doing, because we do need the exposure. And and people like you and other people do need to be getting paid for it. Yes, we do need volunteers still to help, but we also need people getting paid, and so they can actually spend the true time it needs to help the game grow. Because at the end of the day, you have to pay your bills, and you can't sit there the whole time and volunteer work that don't pay the bills. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's just kind of how the world works on that end. Or you need to be making something for your time and your effort, not just you per se, but you as in the people advertising, you and the people working hard to run the tournaments, to make the events. I don't mind at all them making some money off it. I get kind of frustrated when they don't.
Yeah, and that was exactly your mentality. And I'll just, I'd already known you for a number of years before that, but that was just such a gesture in what you did and what you were saying, and more so than the actual physical goods you handed me. The entire idea that it was the gesture, that you were concerned that I was doing what I was doing, and you wanted to support that. So I'll never forget that, and I think it speaks volumes about you. And I know we've had some other really good conversations and talks throughout the years, and I think even years ago, would it be fair to say that some people maybe misunderstood you a little bit? Would that be a fair way to put it?
A little bit, but I was probably a little bit too overspoken, and people took things to the heart a little bit. My son's flashing at the flashlight right now.
Right.
But I was probably a little bit too blunt in some of the things I was saying, and then people hear things, and then the words get twisted around, and that's how rumors get formed.
That's true.
So people knew you before, people know you now. or I'll say people don't really know you too much now. There's a lot of golfers, like Terry said, that have no clue who you are. We've seen a big explosion in the game in the past 3 years. What do you want people to know about you? What is something that you think represents you?
That's hard to say. That one's probably a hard question. Just they'll get to know me out there. I'm easygoing. I like to compete, and hopefully they'll see me in the leader group and get to know me there.
Okay.
I think
and if not, then whatever group I'm in, I'll be happy to be there.
Well, which is awesome. So let's get through a few basics. Some people want to know, like, give us your favorite course. Where's your favorite course, and where do you want to get to new this year?
Yeah, probably Beaver State.
Okay.
I love that the courses that they use there. I love the U.S. Open. Let me see. Warwick had pretty good courses, if I remember right.
Yep. Not New York. Yep.
Some of my favorite ones. There's some all over.
Okay. All right. Where are you most excited to go compete this year? You've talked about how you've got the okay to go play a number of other places. Where are you most excited to go out and see this year?
Probably I'm definitely real excited to play the World Championships in Beaver State. Masters Cup, Beaver State, World Championships, and U.S. Open. That's my main focus.
Okay. And how much of that will be traveling with the whole family, or
Probably every one of them.
Okay, awesome.
Does have you been getting your son out to play? Does he seem to take to it? I know he's pretty young yet, but
yeah, he calls it whoosh it. He likes to whoosh it.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Makes sense. Okay.
He definitely throws it here and there. He loves to play. Okay. If I'm out there doing it, he wants to. He's getting a little mad right now. He wants to play right now.
What have you whether it's Steve or anyone else, have you and I know you kind of just touched on the various tours and whatnot, but do any of those pique your interest? I mean, you're familiar with the national tour. Now you've seen the world tour is a thing and it exists. The pro tour is a thing and it exists. You missed out on the American tour last year, but do tours or accolades or just individual events, like what matters most to you?
Probably just more of the individual events. I'm not too concerned with what tour they wanted to call it.
Sure.
But more interested in probably the individual events.
Do you feel like there's a section of the country that you could see visiting? And, like, for instance, right now, a lot of our top players are going to be in Texas, basically for like 3 full weeks. Could you see yourself, going somewhere, hanging out in a region or an area for a month at a time, or do you have too much other stuff going on?
Yeah, probably not a month at a time, no.
Okay.
I'll be more still going like how I used to travel, to the, World Championships. I'll probably put in a good amount of time there. U.S. Open. I played that course quite a bit, but I still like to practice it, get used to the different temperature, the different weather, the different humidity, because that all plays a big factor on your grip and how the discs come out. Sometimes I'm not even learning the course. I'm just kind of relearning my grip at each tournament sometimes.
Who are you most excited to get into a foursome with? Whether it's old or a new person, who are you most excited to, go play that next competitive round with?
Well, I definitely want Steve-O in there.
Okay.
It'd be nice to have Derek in there.
Yep.
And, of course, I like to play against Paul and Ricky.
Okay. And that's because you want to go right up against the best right away. Yeah,
and then not taking nothing away from anyone else that's playing good right now. I really haven't even been keeping track.
Okay.
That's just the stuff they're the two I've heard the most about. There's plenty of other great players I can't wait to play with.
Yeah, I mean, there's, Eagle McMahon is this 18-year-old out of Colorado that is on tour full time and
throws a country mile and he putts pretty well.
And Simon Lizotte from Germany, throws even further and also putts well. You're certainly
I've heard about them.
I get and I think a lot of people probably get a good chuckle out of that. And just in general, it's like they are some of the hottest players in the world right now. They are kind of what you were 8-9 years ago, where you were competing for second well, I'm sorry, only second place at Worlds every year, but you were a 3-time runner-up. I mean, you were the hottest player almost consistently. You were in the mix every year for those that don't know. And these are the guys now that are kind of stepped up to your position.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely see what changes happen out there. I'll be throwing a lot shorter than them, but hopefully making a couple more putts. But we'll see. I heard they're great players, and I look forward to playing against everybody. Not just those chosen few, because there's still a lot of other good players that can come out of nowhere at any time.
And how old are you right now?
35.
35.
Don't tell anybody.
Don't worry, no one's watching or listening. So you got plenty of good golf left in you. We know Stevie just had a birthday, back in January 1st, and he's getting closer to that Masters age. But you got a few years on him.
Yeah. I hopefully don't plan on ever playing Masters. I have my own opinions about it. If I feel I can get bottom cash and open, that's when I might try to play.
Okay.
And if that changes, then I might drop down to a different division.
Well, I mean, that just proves how, again, you're there for no other reason other than becoming the best and playing with the best, and you're there for the competition. The money is it almost meaningless even in disc golf for you right now?
Oh, no, definitely not meaningless, because I still got to be able to pay for the trips.
Okay.
And it still definitely helps pay the bills. I wish I was rich enough to where it didn't matter, or I wish I was rich in general at all. But no, it definitely isn't meaningless. It definitely still helps and need the support to get to the events.
Okay. But
especially now I'm going to be taking my wife and son to probably almost every event I go to.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not cashing at those events. You might be, but they're not. So.
Yeah.
They're cashing your check.
Support. That's all I need.
They're cashing your check now. Well, it's awesome that you're going to be able to make it a family adventure for everybody, and be able to get out and enjoy the country. Avery Jenkins, that guy that got you in the playoff. I mean, you constantly see him on the road. Frequently with his wife Leah and his son, and taking it in all over the country. So there could be maybe another Josh Avery duo battle here somewhere. Just saying.
Never know.
And your sons are pretty similarly aged.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Good stuff. All right, pal. Do you got anything else you want to share with us here tonight?
No, that's it. I appreciate all the good comments out there, and I still got to shrug off all the negative comments. I know that people's going to have their opinion about things, and I don't hold it against them. Everyone likes to have an opinion.
Yeah, they do.
I'll say this. There were a lot of comments out there saying that you've gained a lot of fans just because there are people who didn't know you. So.
Well, right on. Well, thank you, everybody, and I appreciate you guys, and keep up the good work getting the game out there.
All right, man. We'll be talking soon, and I look forward to seeing you soon somewhere around the country, pal.
Okay. See you guys soon.
Thanks
Have a
a
good
lot,
night.
Josh.
All
Bye.
right. See ya. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the 3-time Pro Worlds runner-up in Josh Anthon. I actually, now that I think about it, I can even go on record. I have at least one of those.
One of those trophies.
This is a testament to Josh's competitive nature.
Well, I think it's his competitive nature, and it's his former attitude. I think a little bit as well.
Yeah. He definitely has a different outlook. He's a little bit more, I'll say, refreshed. A clearer mind, and just knows where he is and where he's at and what he wants to accomplish. What I was going to tell quickly, the story of 2010, he finished in a 3-way tie for second place at the World Championships. Mm-hmm. 2009 was in Kansas City. 2010, that was, I'm sorry. 2010 was in Indiana. Wow, I'm really losing it. No, I was trying to think of the city, Maryville, whatever it's called, in Indiana. He finished in a 3-way tie for second place, right? So there's second, third, and fourth place trophies there. And he walked up, and everyone's like kind of shuffling around. And honestly, I don't even remember who he tied with. They're all shuffling around, and he's like, I don't care. Just give me fourth place. He didn't care. He didn't win. And I know there's a competitive spirit in a lot of our players, Thank you, Crown Point, Lemon Lake. Wow. And
Oh, you were trying to look for Crown Point.
yeah,
I couldn't. I knew what you were talking about, but I didn't think.
I know. I just totally spaced out. And he just said, I don't care. And he took the 4th place trophy. And then I kind of jokingly said, oh, if you don't want it, you don't have to take it all the way back to California. He's like, here. And he gives it to me. And it wasn't, of course, to in any way diminish what he did or diminish the tournament itself. But to him, he was there to win.
It wasn't a first place trophy. And I don't know
famous
if
quote somewhere by someone. If you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah. And I think I think you kind of see that attitude with Ricky on how he plays. And I think we saw it this weekend where he was in, I think it was 3rd place with 2 holes to go. And he attacked the course thinking, I need to win. Not, okay, cool. If I play well, I'm going to get 2nd place. There was none of that. It was, Ricky went at that I think it's a par. Is that a par 4? The big L-shaped hole number 5.
That's the second to last hole is a par 4.
It's a par 4. Okay, like he just attacked it. He tried to go over the top on it. He threw some big and he didn't make it in bounds on the first shot. And his second shot was amazing too when he threw it up over the top. It's kind of the attitude that some of these guys have where they don't really care if they don't take first, and they I'm sure that the money is fine and they want they want the wins and the points, but at some point you just get to that level where you're like, I want to win, and if I don't win 2nd, 5th, 7th,
none of that matters.
Whatever.
Paul Macbeth, listen up though. I forget with whom, but there is a $100 bet stating that you will not finish outside of the top 10 this year. And I was thinking about it the other day, and
we'll have to look through that.
We will, because I know it's out there in one of our notes, and I'm still obviously I'm good with it. I was wondering though exactly how it was phrased that day, because I think it's fair to say if Paul Macbeth has to withdraw, if he has. It gets in a car accident, heaven forbid, so on and so forth. There's some kind of crazy DNF associated with it. I'm not sure that necessarily qualifies or counts, but either way, I'm going to knock on wood, none of that happens for him, of course, but I would think that would be fair to say that that's not exactly the same as finishing outside.
I'm glad you took the time to qualify
I was randomly thinking of it. Well, I was thinking of it. I think I was thinking of
with Nico and
the Nico
sure.
and then recently with Madison and so on and so forth. If he misses, if Paul wakes up late and doesn't get to a tee time, I think that's one thing. If you I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so that was something that I was thinking about. But I will say, Paul, just make sure you finish in the top 10 all year. That's all. So some people,
the way he's playing, I don't see that being a problem.
I know. That's why I so confidently said that, and everybody thought I was crazy.
I didn't think you're crazy. Shooting a 1077 final round at Throwdown the Mountain. I mean, it's.
I mean, he's playing good golf.
I keep thinking like, I think his rating, he hasn't been playing as hot as he was. His rating might take a dip or two, and then he puts up a big. And when I say a dip, I mean a point or two. I'm not talking he's going to drop into the 930s or anything crazy like that,
or even the 1030s, God forbid.
Or sorry, 1030. Sorry, that's what I meant. But I'm thinking like maybe he's going to drop to 9 or 1048 or 1049. Then he puts up like a 1077 round, and it is amazing what those guys are doing. Like everyone says, Ricky on the 17th hole, and some of the things that Paul does, and Simon and Eagle, and now we might see Josh. And Josh has never been a flashy golfer. He's never the one that's gonna look at and go, I think I'm gonna take the big hyzer here. He's gonna take the up the gut shot. He's gonna hit a 50-foot putt because that's what he does, and it's it is kind of ridiculous. So I wish Josh nothing but the best. I hope. I ultimately though, I hope he gets Stevie in line. I'd love to see him and Steve and Billings get out on tour and have Stevie compete at a level that I know he wants to, because I know he hasn't lately, and that's he's got work and he's got the job and he's got legacy and he's got family and things like that. But I would love to see those guys back out on tour.
Well, when I did talk to Steve earlier today, he said just that. He's like, I need to, in the most polite way, he was saying, I need to get out of the office. I need to get out of the factory here at Legacy, and I need to get out and play and be present and things like that. to get back to, not just his playing form. I don't think he was selfishly saying that, but I think he wants to get back out there, and people, to know he's out there and he can be very successful with the disc that he's throwing. There aren't as many people throwing Legacy as they would like. I mean, you'd always like more people throwing them, and I think he wants to prove, hey guys, we make great plastic, and I can be very successful with it. I just need to get out here and play.
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't get to see him. He's kind of the face of the company, but he's hidden behind the curtain. So
yeah, he really is. And I see a lot of people on the board saying, that Josh would be a great fit for Legacy and this and that. And from what I think you had even told me earlier, that Josh is comfortable with his plastic right now, and he wants to compete at a high level. And I don't know if he's willing to take that hit of switching discs this soon into a season. And he might, if that were to happen, it might be in the future. I think he wants to just get into competition and kind of just get the feel back for the game in general, because winning by 7 or 8 strokes is one thing. When you're playing against the top players in the world like Ricky and Paul and Simon and Eagle, that's a different type of mentality and competition. And I'd be curious to see how he reacts in that. So,
yeah, well, again, a lot of conversation taking place on the board. We believe it was, in fact, Josh's wife, Amanda, who was out there logged in and going back and forth, I think, throughout the interview. But just a lot of people telling Josh what he should be doing. But he's going to continue to drive that point home. He's going to continue to throw what he's familiar with, what he's used to. Yes, his good friend in Steve works and owns Legacy, but Josh wasn't throwing any Legacy prior when he was playing back then. He was very comfortable with his Innova setup, and I think he's going to stay with that unless there's an absurd offer that comes along. And then, as he said, Innova's going to have to make that decision whether that's the right fit for them or not. And
he knows they're a company. They have
decisions to make, and
they need to look at what's best for them and what's gonna, what their public image and things like that are. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it's 2, 3, 4 years before Josh maybe sees an offer, and
he may or may not,
or if ever. I mean, and even if he does, if it's something he wants, he might just kind of be like, it's not worth it to me to switch over to a different manufacturer. It's not worth it to me to take the offer. I think that I definitely think there's a lot of questions still in the air with him.
Exactly. So we'll let him ease into it. I definitely want to thank him for joining us. As he had told me earlier, he's extremely excited about the future and remaining positive and doing right by himself and his beliefs and his family. And all I can do is support all of that. And that's how we're going to move forward. So, again, Josh is throwing a lot of Innova. He'll continue to do so. And I remember I've thrown a few of his discs. I remember we were walking off hole 3 at the USDGC, which is a downhill. It's 380, plays probably closer to 320 or so. Or maybe it's 360, whatever. And we had a little CTP, and we unloaded all the discs in his bags, and I beat him on it. And we were going back and forth at that USDGC. And he throws a lot of old CE plastic stuff that's comfortable.
Yeah, his bag is probably worth $500.
Well, it was before. It always has been.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying in general, like, you don't see a lot of pros with that type of bag anymore. You don't see a lot of pros carry CE. It's all, they're carrying newer models. They're carrying things
occasionally,
that they can replace.
Except for this weekend when someone said, I saw Yeti throwing 2 2001 CE rocks.
Sure.
Which brand new can be anywhere from like $500 to $1,000 or
but
whoever.
He's probably been throwing them since 2001.
And he's been throwing them forever. But I mean, he's throwing a disc that 99% of the world would never throw because of their sheer value. And Yeti. So speaking of Yeti.
Yeah, the picture and
everything? Yes. I did not fully put this together, but I definitely want to tell the story. Maybe you can bring up the picture for everyone.
Looking for it.
When I was browsing through the Facebooks, because Yeti and Jay and Des are not directly, frequently, often on Facebook. And so when I was looking through the Facebooks, I saw that there was like a disc attached to his back. And I was like, oh, and it said I read like the first line, and it made me think, a disc somehow came by and then somehow stuck to him, like got snagged when someone threw it.
And that's what I thought when I saw this. Like, oh, maybe the disc had something and it caught on a fiber of his shirt.
Well, he told me today, he's like, did you see the post? And I said, yeah. And I kind of recapped it as I thought I saw it. He's like, no. This Firebird came in, and I moved. There was like a heads up or something yelled, but I moved just at a certain time, and the disc came in, and he says he thinks it spun and was rotating still enough that it then melted his shirt and put the mark. Can you show up? I don't know if you can show another one of the other photos, but then put a mark on him as well when it hit him in the back, and it somehow like melted his shirt there. And this is actually the first time I'm looking at it this closely myself. There it is, a Star Firebird. And that's where he got hit.
I don't know how that's. I mean, I'm not doubting it because I'm seeing some of the pictures. I don't know how that's possible.
He doesn't understand the physics either. he said that. He's like, I don't understand all of the physics as to what happened, how it happened.
It was the disc hot because it was sitting in the sun? Was it, I don't understand that at all. I don't understand how it works, but
and then I don't know if you can go back to the picture of him standing there, like, if how it hit him and then came down. I mean, because there it looks like it just, that's where I thought, oh, maybe it grazed past him.
Yeah.
But no, he said he was really sore and that it hurts, and you could see why.
Of course.
I certainly believe that.
Getting hit by a disc is never fun.
But he said he was a full, 300 feet away, though. So this wasn't like, he was playing guts with someone from 15 meters.
Right, yeah.
He said this thing was a full 300 feet away. So, some guys are saying that's friction, but so much force or friction, and then I don't know if the disc hit him just wrong and then kept spinning, and then I don't know. I'm not about to explain the math. Yeti's a teacher, for crying out loud. If he can't explain the math and the physics, I'm not going to attempt to. But that is crazy. That's what I can say about that. I think it's just crazy. Friction and pressure, they're saying on the board, spin.
Sure.
Sure. I'll go along with all of that. Guts with the Firebird would be suicide. I know, but I was
Chris,
illustrating a point.
That brings us back to an old Am Worlds at the Uline Sports Center where the indoor soccer, I believe it was.
Yes, 2007 Am Worlds.
Where people were playing guts. It
wasn't
essentially
guts. With regular discs.
Everybody was on. It was a soccer field, so people were on opposite sides, and people were using regular discs, and it got a little out of hand. But yeah, there were rocks being thrown and drivers, and that was a fun night.
So as U-Disc, I don't know if that's Matt or Josh or both. Well, it's not both. Says the mark on him was vertical. No way, that was a regular backhand drive. I don't know that he ever said it was officially backhand. Could have been forehand. Could have been. I do not know or understand any of the math or physics to any of that.
I mean, I guess it all depends on. I mean, it's vertical on him, but how was he standing?
Correct. Because if he moved,
did he move or did he bend? Did he bend over a little bit or something? I don't know. But,
just at the wrong time.
Or was it a nasty thumb?
He said he thinks he faintly heard like a 4 or a heads up or something like that, and he's like, he said he tried to get out of the way. So he did make some kind of a movement. What do they call that? An athletic move in football?
Yeah. He made an athletic move.
He, an old football player. So, and then as they said, he was ducking out of the way. It wasn't an epic. No, an epic Firebird throw. Anyway, so very interesting. Good to know you're good, Yeti. He told me about his schedule, and him and Jay him and Dez are incredibly busy over the next few months doing a lot of course design work and community work. Which I think we should have him on and talk about sometime. But
I just realized I'm not recording this.
Oh, we don't need to. You're not recording any of the audio
at all.
So it's recording.
It's not recording on YouTube, and I'll pull it from YouTube, and we'll get the audio from there. But,
solid, nice work.
But yeah, that's what you get for rushing me at. Yeah,
yeah, I know, because it was only a week ago, Tuesday when I left, when you knew I'd be back next Tuesday for a show. Anyway.
Oh well.
So speaking of U-Disc, let's move to another great conversation.
What? More?
Steve Dodge likes to do this. Tuesday afternoon, he released an article talking about supergroups. And again, talking about some pros and some cons, and we don't need to beat the entire conversation to death because I know some of our professionals have had that conversation. But go out, dgpt.com, and he talks about exactly that, like what supergroups are, what he feels like they are, if there's any statistical analysis or data that proves, are they making an impact? Does it matter from a competitive standpoint? It certainly matters from a media standpoint. He at one point said, rather than the same people getting voted in, could there possibly, could we continue to bring in popular but yet fresh faces onto the first day featured cards? Of course, any subsequent days are always going to be done by score as expected, but the name of the article is Tea Times Matter, and there's some logic to it, and I would say one of the most important components to all of this is the tea times certainly matter, and from just generically from a men's and women's perspective, because as you know, if the women are teeing off at 9:30 and someone is able to record them, that gives Steve the time to do a few quick edits to then splice it into the men's footage. Now, if you have, as we experienced here, and this can be good, bad, or indifferent, as we experienced this last weekend, at Waco, we had this feature card, but when then we got onto a backup hole, 15 or 18 or any of the backups, we would arrive potentially at what was the second to last card and the third to last card, and not to sound like a jerk, but if they're local gentlemen from Texas, like some of them were,
we had no clue who they were.
No idea. Like I just no idea. Absolutely. Not only did I not know their names, but I knew nothing about their game. I knew, I could call shots potentially, and Cameron was so helpful in doing all of that especially because he knew some of them, but that can affect also, I would say, the overall quality of what we're trying to accomplish as well. And that's not to take anything away from anyone, of course, but if you don't know, like, guy in blue shorts is throwing, it can make things difficult.
Yeah, correct. So from a media standpoint, we'll say it like this. I looked at it like, okay, great, we've got this awesome super card that we're going to watch. The problem is the second card is a bunch of people that nobody knows, so if there is a backup, we normally flow over to the second card and talk about them and watch their shot. Nobody wants to see that. No offense to those guys, other than maybe their families, but nobody cares about Joe Blow from Texas, from Waco, who's rated 950 or 970, and nobody knows his name. Sorry, but it hurts us when that happens, because we sit there and like, what do we do? Now, what I would like to see is I sent this message to Steve as well. We need to change up the supergroup. No more voting. Or you need to put different players in there, because frankly, as much as I love them, I'm sick of seeing Ricky, Paul, Eagle, X.
Simon.
Yeah,
Simon would be the other one probably.
Because that's all we're seeing. And we're going to see those people later in the round. I don't want to see them first round anymore. Let's give it a couple week break, or a couple month break. Let's stop seeing them. Let's vote on some other people to put in there. Maybe only give one of them an option to get in, because they're going to get in every time, because that's what the people want to see. And I understand that I'm kind of backstepping on that, saying, well, nobody wants to see these guys we don't know. But then again, I'm sick of seeing the guys we do know. I get that. But I think we have more faces. We can put a Ulibarri in there. We can put a Cole Glazer in there. We can put I'm trying to think of a Conrad, a James Conrad in there now. Let's look at these guys that don't normally get the face time that our top pros get and mix them in there. Let's do, we'll say, one super pro, as we'll call them, which is one of those 4 or 5 guys, and then a couple of really good pros, some 10-20 guys, some maybe a 10-15 kind of guy. I don't want to see the same Ricky, Simon, Eagle, Paul card anymore. I'm done with it. Until now, if that's the way it falls in the second, third, fourth round,
well, of course,
there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, yeah, and
that first round though, let's get some fresh blood in there.
Yeah, it certainly. And again, I like watching all of them. It's great to know. It's great to mix up Simon and Eagle's name, as often as I can.
Yes.
I love doing that. I think, I don't know who it was, but somebody said the second or third day. The set must have been third day. I don't know what day it was. They said, "Oh, good job. You didn't screw that up at all." It must have been the third day. Because neither of them were on the card, so maybe it was second. Anyway, no, I don't even remember, but good job, you didn't screw it. You didn't call them by the wrong name at any point.
Yeah.
That's because they were on the card. But we have a lot of really good players, and I don't even, it's not like there should be a ratings barrier for sure. We have a lot of good players, and I think having a little bit of a mixture in there can be nice from time to time. So I see what you're saying. We need people like
Eagle Azad is my favorite player.
Exactly. The one thing I'll say is I don't think I ever called it Simon McMahon or Eagle Azad.
No, you just called them by the
I
wrong
know, but I'm
first
just saying
name,
I don't
or
think I
maybe the
ever
last
screwed
name.
up that.
And there's people out here like, no, John, you're wrong. I want to see the good guys. I'm not saying we're not going to see good guys. I don't want to put those 950 or 920 rated locals in there, but I don't know. Let's look at the let's look at the list. Maybe would you want to see a Conrad or a Seaborn or a Barsby or even Patrick Brown,
Devin Owens,
Devin Owens, and
Dave Felberg, who we saw work, who we saw on there.
Zachariah Johnson,
Philo, Drew Gibson,
Shoestrick. These aren't no names. These aren't people that aren't the best. They're just not the super pro right now. Shoestrick was the super pro 3 or 4 years ago. Now he's a really good pro, but he deserves to be up there once in a while. And it's just we're gonna see those guys. And Sexton, and we're going to see them in those lead cards. I just don't want it 4 straight rounds with them or 3 straight rounds with them. Let's give a little bit of fresh blood in there. A Cam Todd is a great example. Someone who won GBO last year, but he's not going to get voted in. I just want Steve Dodge maybe to mix up the voting a little bit.
Well, and so if you read the article, he basically tells us that every event has their own method, and he's not mandated anything. Every event has their own method to come up with the teeing or the groups in general, not just the super group or whatever, but the actual tee times and how they're placed. Like in Waco this weekend, just as I explained, they wanted to go completely random, as they kind of stated, like everybody pays an entry fee. We're going to throw all the names into a hat and pull them out randomly. Some people want them cards semi-stacked, so you have a certain amount of good players per card. That's the way Vibram's done it every year, Steve says, until this year. He's going to do it differently. Someone like a Dave Felberg was having a very logical conversation stating, well, if you take the top 50 players in the tournament, the winner is going to come out of those top 50. Like statistically, every single time, or let's say the top 30 or top 20, whatever that number is, statistically, every single time, the winner is going to come out of there. So all of those people that are most similarly skilled should be teeing off at the same time frame. You shouldn't have a Paul Macbeth teeing off at 11:30 or 9:30, the earliest men's card, and a Ricky Wysocki teeing off at 2:30. That should never be happening.
And that's because of mostly weather conditions.
Correct.
And because it's significantly different and I know, the closer we can keep these guys together, the more, I'll say, fair it is for them, because they're playing under the same conditions. The wind will pick up in the afternoon, sorry, thanks. The weather will pick up in the afternoon or whatnot. But I would just like to see, like Vibram does, semi-stacked cards. If a TD is going to do random and not do a super card, so to speak, stack it with two kind of, we'll say, top pros, we'll say 1,000 rated and above on each card, and then mix the rest.
Sure.
But I think you need to have, for media-wise, we need to have some name. We don't want, Jeremy Coling with 3 no-names at 2:30 at the lead card time. That doesn't make any sense for us. It doesn't make any sense for viewers. But you put Coling, Lizotte, and maybe 2 decent locals in there. I'm fine with that. I like to get to know people that maybe have a chance to cash. You know, I know it sounds bad. I don't want to see the 920 rated guy who signed up so he could play with Paul Macbeth have a chance to play with Paul. But if that happened, I'm okay with that. Look what we did at Vibram a couple years ago, where we showed the AM winner the next weekend, and he played poorly. You know, the pressure got to him, and it was just a bad showing for him. But I didn't mind that. He had a story behind him. He had something we could talk about. You know, and you're good enough where if there's someone you don't know, you'll probably come up to him before the round and talk to him, try to get a little information out of him. We just need to.
I can't do that with 8 people, though. I can't do that with the entire.
No. If there's 3 people or 4 or 5, 6 people that you don't know, you can't be like, all right, guys, everyone come in.
Bring it on in. I need to know something about you.
So it's a balancing act that I think we're still playing, and I think we need to get through it. But I would like to see semi-stacked cards. If you're going to do a voting system, I don't want to see the same 4 guys.
Okay,
we're going to see.
So it's a great article. There's a lot of things we're talking about now and a lot of things we're not talking about. But go out and check it out, dgpt.com. It's under the news section. It talks about different ideas. He says he has it with a final thoughts and proposal as to different ways that can and should be done. Take a look. It's what Steve Dodge has. Again, that's all on the Disc Golf Pro Tours website. So see what you guys think of that.
And someone, Chris Beyer says, all respect, are the fans sick of seeing those players? And I don't think
some of them are.
I think there's going to be a few that are sick, because maybe a few people, maybe they're sick of Coling not getting into that foursome and they want to see that. But no one's going to argue when you get that super card, other than maybe some people who don't like super cards, like other pros. But for the most part, we're going to be like, okay, whatever, I get it. I'm just saying, I think it's better for the sport if we highlight more people. There are more stories out there. There are more, let's get a Josh Anton on a lead card like that. Let's get, there are stories to be had. There are people we can highlight that aren't those same 4 guys. And we're never not going to see one of those 4 probably in the lead card this year. Very rarely are the events we're going to cover, where you're going to have a card that doesn't contain a Simon, an Eagle, a Paul, or a Ricky. I would be willing to bet that after the first round, one of those 4 will probably be on a lead card. I'm not putting money on it, because I bet there's probably 1 or 2 rounds.
I want to put money on it.
I don't, because there's probably 1 or 2 rounds where maybe they won't show up. Maybe they'll be on the second card. But in general, we're going to see them, and we're going to see a lot of them.
Well, of course, and this ultimately goes back to, and you talk about fans, we talk about growing, and Steve Dodge, the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and all of its advertisers and sponsors are looking for eyeballs. So when you say, well, how do you get eyeballs on what's going on?
Yeah.
You provide the coverage, live and recorded. You provide it, and you have things that people want to watch. And by that, you're talking about our sports most notable and or popular players.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the goals here. So does it have to be the 4 best in the world? No, I don't think it does, though, because clearly we know, as you've said, Barsby and Coling aren't the 2 highest rated players at the tournament, but they may be 2 of the most requested to watch, and so on and so forth. So, all right, I think we beat that to death. Go check it out. Make sure you read it again. Disc Golf Pro Tour and Tee Times Matter, and that was an article that was just released today by Steve Dodge. He wants people to talk about it and make comments on it. Wow. I would like to, it's maybe a little bit late in the whole conversation, but I would also, he was on the board earlier, I'd like to extend a condolence. Brian Schweberger, Schwebby, our first and only current Battle Box champion. His father passed away recently, so another legitimate big hug to you, Schwebby, and the whole family, you and Ashley, and the whole family out to you, buddy. Sorry to hear that. And I hope everyone on the home front and the family front is doing as well as you can, buddy. So, other conversation. Wow. Well, I mean, there was a lot of conversation around. Well, let's go to the coverage. I want to stick on that for just a second. I think we should feel good, maybe. It seems like there's a little buzz about people asking now, well, where's the women's coverage? They want to see the extended versions, maybe is a good way to put it, of the women's coverage.
So what you're saying is people know that we're splicing the FPO into the live coverage, but they also know that FPO is recorded somewhere, and maybe they want to get the full round.
Correct. Which is great in that we've never had people clamoring as much in the past for women's footage, and now that we've given a little taste of it, spliced it in the broadcast, now everyone's saying, well, where's the full stuff? Well, that hasn't been the current model that was laid out, and I'm acting as a conduit here. I think that's a pretty fancy way to say this. I'm just a conduit, but the model that was arrived at was the fact that they would get a very rough cut of action that would be recorded, that would be given to Steve. He puts that together into what I'll say is an even rougher cut to then provide to the broadcast. I don't believe that there has been initially a plan to develop all the rest of the footage after that point. That may change moving forward or may get attempted. I know I'm going to attempt it in some regard, but that is not the original goal or intention. The goal and intention is to get a majority of the most critical and crucial and interesting shots from out of their round into the live round that we're also doing, so that you're getting the main pieces of the two live rounds. Post-production is something that's not fully obtainable and practical at this moment, I guess is the best way I can word it. And Steve and the Pro Tour and other groups are going to probably work to try and improve upon it. But for those that may be clamoring, saying, well, it was recorded, where is this full-blown Jomez style amazing post-produced round? I would just say for now, don't hold your breath on it, and all we can do is hope to improve and work toward a solid post-production round. So
no, that's right.
There's the take on that. Okay.
Someone asked about the smash cut and adding the women to the smash cut, and I'll say I don't think so.
Okay.
Only because let's put it this way: the purpose of the smash cut is to get a rough edit out there for people to watch so they can catch up for the next day's broadcast.
The down and dirty.
The down and dirty. Just as I'll say, I've been a little bit more attentive to the smash cuts. Where I'm cutting them, I may let them go an extra 2-3 seconds to let you complete a sentence, as opposed to cutting you off in the middle. Because ultimately 2 or 3 seconds on 20 or 30 shots isn't going to add up. Now, it's not going to be an extra 2 minutes, 3 minutes at a time, but you get the point. Leaving the women in for that particular smash cut, I don't think it makes much sense. I had thought about possibly taking the stuff that Dodge sends me and making a smash cut of it. The problem is, like Terry was kind of addressing, we're not getting true shot-by-shot coverage for the women's. We're getting more highlights. Earlier in the rounds, we're getting more, where there's, he'll show 3 women shooting. Maybe the second round, it's going to be just 2 that have really pushed themselves out there. And then the final round, it's almost always, depending on who's competitive. So that all those shots aren't there. I could try to wrangle something together. I don't know even how it would look. I think right now I'm going to focus on just doing smash cuts for the direct live card that we're covering. And it's a smash cut takes me about an hour and a half to do. To actually, about an hour to an hour and a half just to cut together, and then you let it render for 30 minutes where I wander away, and then you come back and it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to upload and process. So, and those are times I don't have to sit in front of the computer, but ultimately it's about a 2.5 to 3 hour process overall. So doing that twice,
here's where I'll double down on that concept or thought. I did have a conversation with Steve, which is, he said he had a little epiphany once I gave him an editing tip here today.
Oh,
he did say, he's like, oh, wait, so, yeah. Oh, I could just take all my women's footage, and I could make that into one, dare I say, smash cut. he's like, I could just save all that and make that one individual file. It's on my end and possibly put that together. So I'm guessing you're going to see that also happen.
Good.
So that kind of goes hand in hand
Good,
with
then
what Johnny was just saying. So there's no point in him doing it because it'll be cleaner if it comes directly from Steve and the cameras versus the one that's come through our broadcast. So
correct. Well, and I'll say he sends me.
Well, but it will miss scores, so there maybe is a downside. But
he'll miss the scores. Well, and I would have just taken it from the files he sent me. I wouldn't have taken it from the live broadcast because sometimes what we run into and what we've seen with the FPO is, Steve doesn't always know the course, and nor do we, especially at something like WACO. So there might be a par, let's say a par 3, 280-foot hole. He might somehow give me a minute and 10 worth of coverage. Well, guess what? We have 4 people down the fairway at 4 different spots. Simon hit early, Ricky hit middle, Coling hit late, and someone's parked. So we don't have that minute and 30 seconds. So I might have to cut out in the middle of the women's coverage because ultimately I feel our priority is the lead card that we're covering. As much as it is nice to see the women's coverage, I kind of consider it a bonus. And so cutting it from the broadcast wouldn't make sense. But the files he sends me doing that, I just don't know how that would look and how that would come across because I guarantee you people are going to scream that, how come there's only, 2 women in this, in this final day? Why are you only showing, Hokum and Paige? And I was like, well, those are the only 2 that really had a chance to win.
Well, which is exactly an argument that some people made that they hated that response, but that ultimately was what Steve is going for.
And I'm fine with that for the broadcast because we want to show the battle between them. We want to show that, unless there's a big highlight, like someone gets an ace or hits a big 70 or 80-foot putt or something, then I can understand not seeing that. I just think that it's, I mean, it was tough. And we'll talk about it after show, but
yeah. And here's one quick, just little tiny piece of advice. No matter what we do, someone's going to be displeased with it.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you knew this or not.
No,
but we can't please everyone all of the time.
Well,
I know.
I can't even please the people under this roof most of the time.
Exactly. Let alone thousands of viewers. John Cinco asked if I wonder if a female media team will exist one day. I would love to see it. And we would work hand in hand with them as best as we could, or we would let them do whatever they want to do to accomplish what they want to do. I'd love it. Sure. I don't think there's any reason not to. We'd love to see it. And yes, there's an AVR 3, a new release. Also will be available from the Disc Golf Guy in a few days, I believe. I think when they show up. I think I ordered some. All right. I don't know. I've got a good conversation piece for
the after
later. I mean, it's going to relate to tournaments and tournament strategies, but I don't know if it matters now or then. Seems like a logical time to cut things down, then we can ramble about other stuff in the after show if you'd like. You lined up. We're going to have probably a giveaway of some kind. I hope our patron viewer that wins tonight is like accessible and online because I've got a few options of some stuff.
Oh, I don't
but we'll worry about that.
I don't like options.
It'll be great. You don't have to do anything as usual. You just have to click random.org. You'll be fine. Conversation asked about Zoe. I put Zoe's video into a drive on your Dropbox.
When?
Earlier today. I didn't tell you about it.
Thanks.
Well, it was sent to me a few days ago in the midst of a bunch of other work. I don't know if you want to cut to it. I think it would be a great time to close out the show. Zoe's talked about the 2-minute video.
What folder?
It's under. Hold on.
You have to reshare that with me because you keep telling me about this.
No, it's in your Johnny V folder. Do you have one labeled Johnny V?
I don't, and you keep saying that, and I don't know where it is. So
I guarantee I'm gonna so prove you wrong.
No, I don't doubt it.
It's just probably called. I want to say it's on my Dropbox for those.
Yeah.
Use Dropbox. I have a folder called Johnny V.
There's one that's shared with sharing.
Yep. There you go. The one that says Johnny V.
Yeah, I must have somehow at some point I must have unadded it to my stuff. So, which is why you sent me some stuff this weekend that I never saw, I never got.
Oh, that's great.
So,
jerk. It's under Zoe's stuff.
Ooh, look at that.
I know, pretty clever of me. And it's exactly that. It's her 2-minute episode 1. I know we've talked about it in the past. I think tonight's a good night to start it, as good a night as any, or maybe you already have this.
I think we've already shown this, but yeah, I mean, we can play it again for sure.
I don't know that we have shown it. I don't know what you do.
I-
You also don't hit record when you should. So.
That's very true.
Have you guys seen Zoe episode 1 putting? I guess maybe our Smashies will know.
No, not the putting. I had the 2-minute video one, her introduction.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, we have we can play this, and we can go out to the after show after this.
All right, so we're here's the plan, people. We're gonna exit out. This is a 2-minute video by Zoe, very well put together. It's 2 minutes from her. She's gonna try and provide us a video every 2 weeks, and they'll be all just that 2 minutes or so. And we're gonna have that with Zoe. Then when we come back, we'll get into the after show. We'll draw off a winner for if you're a Patreon supporter on our page, and then we'll talk about some other random disc golf things and get all jazzed up about it. All right. So for Dynamite Vicich, thank you for joining us tonight, Dana. We appreciate it. Thanks for your insights. For Josh Anthon, we wish nothing but the best for you, and we look forward to seeing you more out on the tour, along with your boys Steve Rico and Derek Billings. For Johnny V and myself, for the entire Disc Golf Pro Tour conversation and then some. Again, thank you for being here. We'll see you in a few minutes after we check in with Zoe's putting 2-minute drill. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smash Box.
2 minutes. Hi, everybody. I'm Zoe Andyke, and tonight is the first 2-minute segment of teaching from me through Smashbox, all for you.
Yeah, Zoe.
Tonight's general topic of putting is looking at the track stance and the straddle stance putt. From the head down, all advice from here on out applies to both stance putting. It's very important to keep your eyes on the center of the middle of the pole instead of the chains. This is going to provide a bigger target to hit. No matter which stance, make sure you are springy at the knees. I call this an athletic stance, and it's very important to give yourself a couple of bounces to make sure your legs aren't too straight. Your dominant hand, so my right hand, comes to the middle of your body. Your arm swings like a pendulum, and you can lengthen your line by reaching back further and following through with more speed. Gripping your putter tightly, the most important thing now is the last thought. Putt with the intention to make it. All confidence is necessary. Make sure your head, shoulders, hips, and knees are all facing the basket. Rule number 1, smile and putt. Make sure to practice.
And welcome back, everyone.
What a great intro.
What a great intro. Thank you to Rick Cushane. We appreciate the sweet action there, Rick, and helping us out with the graphics and such. Welcome, everyone. This is the Smashbox TV Podcast 136 Aftershow. Thank you guys for joining us. Of course, during the regular show, we had a great conversation with Dynamite that recapped a number of events throughout the country, but then also caught up with Josh Anthon, who so many have been wondering about. Josh caught up in some stuff a couple years ago and told me today that he's focused on the future. He loves life. He loves his family. And he wants to see where disc golf can continue to take him in a positive, forward-moving direction. If you were looking for the interrogation of previous issues or whatever, it didn't happen, is all I can say to that. And sorry, that's what we weren't out and about for today, and I had no problem gladly gladly respecting those wishes, because quite frankly, it's none of my business. So that's where we're at. We're glad you guys could join us. Of course, during the after show, not only do we ramble on about various topics, but we also give away something special or unique. Can be a disc, a shirt, a hat, some minis, a combination of all those things. Tonight, I think I have a pretty cool item that I'm hoping to be able to give away. Well, I've got a few cool items, but I may be able to specifically customize it depending on a choice or two by the winner. So Johnny V is going to round up all of our Patreon supporters. You can go to patreon.com/smashboxtv /smashbox. That's a mouthful. TV, and if you choose and want to support our podcast in any capacity, you can do so with as little as a $1 donation, contribution, patronage, whatever you want to call it, and you can cap that at any amount. So at most, if you want to give us $1 per week and you let it roll, the most you're ever going to get charged would be $4 in a month. Well, no, maybe there's 5 Tuesdays. I guess you could be 5 Tuesdays in a month.
There could be, yeah.
But you could cap it if you wanted to. You could give us $5 per podcast, but say, hey, guys, I only want to support 2 of your podcasts a month, and that would come to $10. So there's a plethora of ways you could go about it.
So many. And I'll say this. I know I reached out, speaking of Rick, what a wonderful guy, does camera work, does all sorts of things. I reached out to him to see if maybe he was interested in designing the Patreon disc that we plan on giving out for our $3 and above sponsors. We're going to send them a unique disc with a special, a special stamp on it that says something along the lines of, thank you for your patronage, Smashbox TV, whatever. We'll, maybe Terry and I will sign them. I don't know. We'll put them in one of Terry's new boxes and send it out. So I'm waiting on Rick, and there's no hurry on this. I'd like to. We've been doing our little show here with Patreon for just about almost 4 months now. So I think it's time to really start getting a move on that. We're gonna have to Terry and I will talk about the discs we want to put it on and what type of stamp and all that other good stuff. But hopefully Rick, at some point when he has time, there's, again, no hurry, Rick, I'm not pressuring you, will be able to get that for us. So
very cool. Thank you guys for tuning in. Are you ready to go on there, or do I need to read some more action from the board? If you want to interact, if you've got direct questions or want to say stupid stuff that might make me chuckle that I may or may not repeat, put it all on the YouTube message board. You'll have to sign in and see what you got.
No, I am totally.
Conrad made a believer out of me this weekend watching him live on Friday in Waco. Nice seeing you again, Terry. Nice to see you as well. Seems like from what I saw of him, I liked his attitude and can't wait to see him play. This in reference to Josh Anthon. Seems like a cool guy who says it like it is, but has skills. He certainly does.
Yeah, he does.
Can I give you my firstborn for some of your sweet plastic? No. I have 2 kids. My daughter, I didn't say this earlier, my daughter turned 6 today, my younger daughter. So happy birthday to my daughter Mackenzie. Not that she'll ever hear this, but happy birthday to her. So
Maybe someday she'll go back through our archives.
I do not need any more kids, though, so I don't want your firstborn. I don't want your firstborn. Johnny doesn't either. He's got 2 kids of his own.
I'm good. One's great, one's a handful.
Wipe the stamp on some Anthon destroyers for the Patreon disc. That's a great idea. I'll take my 10 to 12 $200 or $300 Anthon destroyers
and make them almost valueless by taking the stamp off.
and then hand them over. That's a good idea. I'll send you one.
On lighter note, so we have currently 106 patrons. Thank you, all 106 of you. I'm looking at 106 here. And
Jeremiah on the board says he believes he heard me call out Simon McMahon. Okay, maybe I did.
Could be.
I'm not saying I didn't. I don't think I did, but maybe I did.
There's a good chance. And I'm looking at random.org.
Simon or Eagle, or no, Simon or McMahon.
I can show this time.
Oh, you can show this. I don't know. They're gonna see all your
no, they're not
crazy. But they're seeing all your your bookmarks.
Oh, that's fine.
I think this says a lot about someone.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, they can't. It's trimmed off the top.
Oh, good call.
And not that it matters. This is the same account I sign in for work, so it's a lot of work stuff, and then it's just a couple other funny things. So we have 106 patrons. I'm looking at numbers 1 through 106. I'm going to hit this little generate button in front of all of you. It is number 56. Oh,
what?
Can you see that?
56. Yeah, I see it.
I know.
I believe
I didn't
you.
know if they could. It was trimmed off. So 56. So I'm going to look at my 56th patron. Scroll down. And I'm looking at Lance Perkins.
Lance
Perkins. So,
from the great state of Illinois?
Yes. Lance Perkins from Illinois. So, Lance, congratulations. You are going to get something or other. I don't even know. Did we even show?
No, but I want Lance to reach out to me. I'm going to tell you it's going to be Waco related to some degree. I've got just a bonus. It's a bonus item that came from this weekend. So once Lance reaches out to me, I've got an Innova shirt for you. So we'll get down to the bottom of what size you have, assuming I have the right size for you. I should, because I've got quite a variety. I've got a new Innova shirt for you, and then I have a very Waco-specific item that I think you're going to like, Lance. So hopefully reach out to us, reach out to me, or I'll reach out. We'll be sending you an email, actually, and then you can tell us what you like.
Yeah, so Lance, we'll reach out to you, or if you want to reach out to us, we can do that. I normally send an email after the show. So thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody, again, for supporting the show. It means a lot to us, and I hope we give out over, I think we're easily going to give out over $500.
10,000?
I was going to say $500 worth of stuff this year, but I think for sure.
Yeah.
52 weeks. Averaging
at least
$10 to $15 a giveaway. So
yeah, minimum.
Cool.
I was gonna say we're definitely gonna we're gonna give out more than 500. We'll probably be closer to $1,000 worth of stuff.
Sweet.
When it's all said and done. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you so much for supporting what we're doing.
It means a lot.
Let's get some Smashbox Glow flat top gators. Can Terry play disc? I can. I don't do it nearly as well as I used to. Then someone later said he believes I was once near 1,000 rated. I was once near that. I was at one point 995. Actually, I played the World Championships in 2007 with Josh Anthon the first 2 rounds, but it was really odd. So it was randomly matched up first round. Well, at the time, I guess I was rated higher, but it was randomly matched up. But at that, for the first time and only time in my disc golf career, you stayed with the same group the first 2 rounds, regardless of score.
I remember that.
They got like special permission.
There, but I remember you telling me.
I don't know why they did it. And funny enough, I think we could go back and look, which I won't. I think Josh Anthon shot a 5 under the first round. I think I shot a 3 under. And we were in the top 10 or 20 in the worlds for that first round when we played together. He might have even been leading it or 1 or 2 strokes off the pace, and I wasn't far off myself. And then I played with him second round. I didn't play quite as well as he did second round, but I kind of hung with him. That was also my best ever finish at a World Championships, Pro Worlds. I want to say 33rd or something like that.
Just to remind, Bobby Swain asks, how does one become a Patreon? Patreon, patreon.com/SmashboxTV. So, Terry, did you? I don't know how to take this from Matt. Terry, did you hear any of the Eagles Simon commentary that they did for Jomez? it was fantastic. And with Germ added, it was really great. Like, no, I just think it's funny. Like, what's better, fantastic or really great? Like, did bringing Germ in lower it from fantastic to really great?
I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. For the most part, I've heard it was really good, but like every single commentary team, there's a lot of people that loved it and a lot of people that seem to hate on it. I heard a lot of both.
There's a lot there. I mean,
but that's great.
I remember hearing, I've told you this, Simon and Eagle doing commentary on the Nick Hyde from last year.
Yeah, my video.
On your video. I think that was the first time they did a combined one like that.
Might have been.
Because I remember they were doing it at GBO, but it was for the Nick Hyde. So that's
Correct.
pretty cool. So if you want another little flavor of that, if you really enjoyed that, go check out Terry's Nick Hyde coverage from last year. The final round has Eagle and Simon in it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, it was a lot of fun having them in. Talk about the AMs at the bigger show. They put the work to play too. There's no doubt about that. Birdie Boys Disc Golf. The problem is it's just quantity.
And people.
There's a billion amateurs.
And the only real big events that I think, I don't want to say justify talking about the AMs, Bowling Green usually.
Am Nationals.
Am Nationals and Am Worlds.
Those are your premier amateur stage events. And I think those are a genuine insight as to who are like up and comers,
who we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years.
And not to say any division's not important, but one could argue, well, why aren't we talking about the really good local pros at such and such B tier or C tier, but we should be talking about amateurs at an A tier or whatever. Again, I think just the point is there's only so many. Maybe that should be my own new podcast. Today we're talking AMs. Just talking AMs.
Talking AMs.
Talking AMs. Like, just go over all amateur info. And I don't mean to belittle or talk down. I'm just saying, like, there's just so many people. And when they're not on tour regularly, not playing week in and week out, it's hard to get a following, recognize a name, and then have a storyline that goes with them. And we have that with our professionals.
I mean, if you ever come across a really good AM story, or like, hey, look, this AM shot an 1100 rated round, or this AM shot 3 1080 rated rounds, let us know, because those are things we might not pick up or catch. If I tend to surf the boards, but it's things like that. But otherwise, like Terry's right, it's hard. There's no story. There's no name recognition. Other than the events I mentioned, it's really it's tough. So, but I'm sure we'll be doing a little bit of talking about Bowling Green as that's coming up. So,
okay, so take a mini, throw it off a tee, and the other players play from it. I didn't mean. Okay, sorry, I'm just kind of catching up here. Big Germ did lower it drastically. Again, I know that Big Germ has a lot to add, and
sometimes just specific people don't go together.
Yeah.
Because someone said Germ was great when he was by himself. So,
will you ever be able to do something like tower coverage, or what will they do for ball? No. Short answers. Well, what do you mean by tower coverage? If you mean us standing up in a tower for different filming angles, someone's just got to build a bunch of scaffolding, and then even then our cameras are only going to be able to work so well, because the cameras they're using up in those towers are $100,000 cameras.
Like they got $50,000 lenses. We have a $2,500 camera.
So even being in a tower wouldn't necessarily do us a lot of good, if that's what you're asking. Wish there was able to upload where you could turn commentary on or off. You can. It's mute.
Yes, but he was saying he still wants to be able to hear the chains, the sounds and things like that. And I get that. And I do. I wish there was an option where you could upload a video and then maybe upload a video and then upload the commentary, where you could click a little box that says turn track 1 off, which is commentary track, or something like that. I mean, ultimately, if there's enough people that would want that, start reaching out to the people who do the media coverage. Maybe they'll post 2 versions. Maybe they'll post one, their finished product, and then the finished product with commentary.
Yeah, that could be potentially done. Simon is funny. There's no doubt about it. There's obviously his candid nature, and whether that goes to any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Any kind of not well. I don't want to say lack of language barrier, but just the bluntness. I think that's a cultural thing, and yeah, Simon is funny, and I mean he's funny in all situations. I'm just saying I think there's also a bluntness to him that also comes across as really funny as well. And then you throw in an accent, just all around. Yes, he's definitely very funny.
We were supposed to have a Yuli on?
Maybe he never reached out to us, but
did he?
not to say we couldn't have reached out to him.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. Because
Yeah,
I saw on the sheet it said something about maybe Yuli's picks.
Yeah. Are you guys going to be at Bowling Green? Not likely. I think that directly conflicts with something I'm doing, but maybe not. Smashbox won't be there in a live capacity. The disc golf guy may or may not be there in a recorded post-production capacity, but I wouldn't bet on it. I don't think so this year. I've been there in years past. It's great. It's one of those weekends that falls in between like 10 other busy weekends. I know I need to watch my exaggerations. Someone said he doesn't believe there's a billion amateurs, and I agree. There's probably not a billion disc golf amateurs.
Well, define an amateur.
That's true. Someone
who's maybe never played. I mean, there's probably not a billion amateur PDGA members.
No, there definitely is not.
Or even a billion people who have thrown a PDGA disc, PDGA sanctioned disc. But
Chris says tower coverage going on at Vision. They built that specifically with disc golf filming in mind, and I think it's great, and it's a great step in the right direction or in a direction. I still don't know that it's right. I mean, you're going to miss out on certain things because I myself went and filmed the skins at Vision Quest last year, and I feel like, well, we could have put a tower in the a camera in the tower, but then we would have missed out on either having a catch at the hole or having a camera at the tee where there was a lot of good banter. You know, anything can be fixed with more budget. So yeah, if we had an extra camera, putting them up in a tower, I guess could be one way to go.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, even though he's not here, let's talk a little bit about Yuli's picks.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to bring this over here. Let's see if I can get this, and we cut it over. Bam. So it looks like in the lead for Yuli's picks is someone known as ProStar047. They're sitting at almost 2,100 points exactly. They picked up 402 points. I have to look over another monitor here. 402 points this weekend at the WACO Annual Charity Open.
Here's what I'm confused. Did they must have had the most insane lead.
No, everyone only scored. The field is so much smaller.
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at previous weeks of theirs. That's why. Never mind.
Yeah.
I thought they got 402, but the person below them got 841. That was the week before.
That was the week.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
Yep. So 402 points. There were less points this week because of the shallower field. So they had Ricky, Dave Felberg, Simon, Eagle, Paige, and Stephanie Vincent. So that was a really solid pick. When it comes to the three of us, I am currently in the lead with 2,085 points. I'm in 5th place in the league, so that's pretty good. As we stated last week, I picked Ricky, Coling, Lizotte, Eagle, Paige, and Madison. And Madison made a nice comeback for me to get me some good points. So now if we go and do a search for the disc golf guy, he's right here in 14th place with 2,053 points. So he's about 32 points behind me. He only scored 381 points this week. Ugh. Ouch. Nico was your downfall, as you stated during the event. He only got you 43 points as opposed to the 60 to 70 that most other people got. Otherwise, you had Paige and Stephanie Vincent. Now, I'm going to, hold on, my finger might get sore from scrolling down for Yuli. Oh, wait, there he is. 28th place with 2,041 points. We've got Ricky, Simon, Eagle, Paul, Ulibarri himself. He picked Kat, who I think took 3rd.
Tied for 3rd, I believe, on the women's side.
And he had Stephanie Vincent as well. So 383. So I made myself a little bit of a...
Sorry, Kat must have finished just behind Stephanie. I think she ended up in a finish for a tie for fourth.
Tie for fourth. Okay, that
If
makes
Stephanie took third, that would make sense.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense. So I made up a little bit of ground this week. And do you make up ground when you're ahead? I extended my lead a little bit.
Yeah, you extended your lead.
So I extend my lead.
But it's
a
so
little bit.
funny because, as we've said, when comparing these points compared, obviously there's the
last
structure
year.
of
Yeah,
last
structure
year.
different.
Like you said, I mean, these can easily be made up in 1 week.
You're right. I could pick an FPO player that instead of finishes third, finishes eighth, and there's a difference of 20 points right there. So there's a big difference. And if we go to, I think I already made. I don't know if I made my picks for Yuli's picks. I don't think I did. I did make, and this week is going to be. There's salary cap isn't going to matter. I made a post out on the Facebook page for this, saying that I made early in the year. I put out a list of events for everybody, and I said, "Hey, everyone, let's take a look at these events. These are the ones I think I'm going to pick." Everybody went over them and said, "Oh, yep, these all look good." Hindsight being 2020, I wish I would have picked the Open at Temple this week as opposed to the Tallahassee event, because it's in the past month or two, the entries they're a lot more solid players. There's a deeper field of 1,000 rated players where it would be harder to pick. The Tallahassee event is a little bit shallower of a field, so your rating isn't going to come into effect. I picked, I think, the top players, and I still had like 100 points left to spare. So I'm going to look at my picks for the Tallahassee event here for the Skip Ace League, and I'll tell you who I am going with this week.
Yeah, which I haven't even looked at yet.
Correct. I went with Calvin Heimberg, Cameron Colglazer, Matt Oram. I did actually go with a slightly lower pick with Isaac McDonald. I think Isaac is probably going to have a real solid showing there. He's only a 999 rated player. There were a few other 1,000 rated. There's a Will Schustrick is there. There's a couple other 1,000 rated players, but I think Isaac is going to finish really well. I went with Hannah Leatherman and Madison Walker. So there is some potential ground to be made up. These will be my picks for Yuli's picks as well. There's going to be no difference in that. So
what they're saying on the board, and I know what you're saying, is there's not going to be an issue as much with the ratings cap. However, I'll use my H word. However, there still can be some switching up because, as you just
definitely
said, you pick iMac, who you're not necessarily doing it at all for a ratings-related reason. You're simply just picking him, on whatever other notion. And so you could certainly still switch things up. I mean, you pick an iMac and a Schustrick and a so-and-so, and you swap out a few of these other ones, and one of these other guys bombs. Yeah, there's still room to make up. Not everyone should, and maybe this is where you could go out on a limb, and you could get a little aggressive, and you could say, you know what, I'm going to go with some of these people who I don't think are the most common picks. And if you hit on that, it's just like roulette. You could hit big.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you were to pick the top 4 men, you're going to get Cam, Oram, Schustrick, and Heimberg. But there, like I said, there are some other players in there. There's Colin Forehand,
David
Wiggins, Josh Childs, Isaac, and
Jamie Mosier, who I heard was an angel this weekend, according to the TD. That was a direct quote.
Oh, nice. And then I think that the FPO, I think if you're smart, everyone's picking Leatherman and Walker, although Jessica Hill is in there, and she could step up and play pretty well. But I think
world champ.
I know.
Do not.
I'm not.
You
stepping
better
on,
recognize world champ. What? Also,
based
female
on
rookie of the year.
Based on ratings, I think the smart picks are the 2 higher picks there. But I just don't see those top 3 probably fluctuating too much. So there is some room to be made up. There's a few. I think there's only a few points that will be changed.
You want to be bold? Go out on a limb. Put a Paige Pierce in there. Think, hey, maybe Paige will show up at last minute, take a spot. I'm just saying that's again, if you want to get aggressive, I'm just strategizing for a few out there.
I'm just saying don't do it because Paige said she's not leaving Texas.
I may know things, and I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just suggesting that those are some ways you could change it up. A little shake of the dice, and maybe something will happen. I'm just saying. I may know things.
That's fine if you know things. There are a few points to be made here and there, but in general, I think this is going to be a pretty flat week. next week, though, we're looking at a lot of fun. So we will we'll go from there. But this week, I figure we give a little shout out to the Skip Ace Yulee League. So.
Okay. So let's talk. Nico is a conversation. He'll be my segue. First, I want to so Nico is the bullet point here, but before that, I want to address a direct question on the board, which was said about Beaver State Fling, and can you comment about the Beaver State Fling being 1 week before Worlds? Some people are skipping BSF for logistical reasons. I mean, you nailed it on the head, and I said something to Josh privately on the phone today. I think it was Josh. He talked about, touring and plans and this and that, and I said 10 years ago, the schedule would get released, and everybody would complain and say, oh, none of these make sense for us. I want to do all these big events. They're all around the country. There's no cohesion. 5 years ago, people said, oh, a bunch of these don't make sense. I want to be all over the country. I want to play in all these big events. And there's some overlap, and there's some that conflict. This year, this
is the best year we've seen.
The schedule is released, and the one most legitimate thing people can say is, Beaver State Fling is on the opposite side of the country as Worlds. That sucks. I'm just telling you right now, it, first of all, will never be perfect. Second of all, everybody has different favorites and likes and dislikes. Yep. And third of all, it's pretty damn good.
Well,
if you're on one side of the country, you may need to just take a plane for one trip, come back, and then pick up where you left off or whatever. I understand it sucks. I'm not downplaying that it sucks. But guess what? If this is the one major conflict this year, I'm telling you, if we had podcasts from 10 years ago, there would have been nothing but complaining, and then 8 years ago and 6 years ago, and every year those conflicts got less and less and less, and they'll never be perfect. So if this year this is the one major conflict, and you're right, it sucks. I'm not going to deny it. It sucks for the people that, need or feel like they desperately have to be at both, and I feel a lot of our players do. It sucks. It's one major, and it's the one everyone's dwelling on, unfortunately. But if it's just one, it's one. Is that enough of a it's one. It's one, and it's not even technically a conflict. It's a major inconvenience. It's not like they're on the same weekend and you have to choose one or the other. It sucks, and it's a major inconvenience, and it's a major trip from coast to coast if you're not flying. I get all of that. It's a major inconvenience. It is not even a direct conflict.
Well, do you want to talk about almost a direct conflict? Is the World Tour at Conopiste on one side of the world on May 12th, and May 19th is the Masters Cup.
Yeah,
you're talking about 5-day difference.
Okay.
When it comes down to it, because Conopiste is going to be, I think, the 12th, 13th, and 14th. My guess is 3-day World Tour.
Probably 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, and so let's just say it ends on the 14th. That gives you 5 days to fly across the world to get to California. So we're going to run into this. This is
happy birthday, UC Maresma today.
Yeah, happy birthday, UC. We're going to see this more and more.
Correct.
And it's unfortunate that we're not going to have, people are going to have to pick and choose for the next couple of years until something filters to the top.
It's May 12th, 13th, and 14th. So easy. Skip Conopiste. Come play in the Greater Milwaukee Open in Wisconsin. You could be home for Mother's Day, all right, which is Sunday, the 14th. And you could come play in my event on Saturday, the 13th. Done deal.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you. PDGA B tier. And registration's already open. You don't need to qualify or wait for some silly deadlines. So, and you don't have to go all the way over to Czech Republic. You can just come to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean,
but you're right. You're exactly right. And last year there was a World Tour event taking place the same weekend as a National Tour Kansas City Wide Open. That's a conflict.
Yeah.
That's like a direct conflict. I think they were on the exact same weekend.
And I mean, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be, because the European tour, so to speak, if it overlaps with the U.S. tour, most people don't care because the Europeans are going to stay in Europe and we're going to stay in the U.S. But I was just happy because when I was looking at tournaments and stuff for Skip Ace, I saw Konopiste has Macbeth, Wysocki, Sexton, KJ, Lizotte, Eagle. Those are the players that normally will hit. Maybe not KJ, but those are the players that will normally hit the big events. So
okay, so let's be clear here, just to put this out there, full circle. This is the Konopiste pre-reg.
This is
so there's 3 Innova / Discmania players.
Yep.
And Ricky.
Yep.
I don't. I can I say I don't care? I mean, great players. It's on a great course at a great event, but then that's so irrelevant to the rest of the world. Like
I understand
it's irrelevant in terms of like all the other tournaments. At that point, you have the best players. The 2 or 3 of the best players in the world there. 3 of are from the same manufacturer that have a written check to be there. That's good. I hope they have a great event. I know they're going to have a great event, but at that point, then to me, it's almost irrelevant to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
to the rest of the U.S. Let me clarify.
To the rest of the U.S.
They have a huge representation from people all around the world, and that's great. But I'm saying it's irrelevant to the rest of the U.S. because clearly those are the only guys that are going to
bring it up because I look at the very next weekend, and you have Paul, Ricky, Sexton, Simon, and Eagle. They're playing this event 5 days. 5 days later, they're going to be across the country. Now they'll probably fly across the world. Yeah, they'll probably fly right into San Francisco
or L.A.
or L.A. and then drive whatever, but that's still a day worth of travel, and so you
and Masters Cup is going to be starting on like a Thursday or a Friday.
Correct. It's starting on the 19th. So whatever. I'm assuming that's Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Anyway, I'm just saying that the complaint between Beaver State and Worlds, and then you parallel that with Konopiste and Masters Cup, and we're just going to see it more and more. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to, and people are going to make their choices. I'm done talking about this.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I think we beat that to death. The original comment was talk about the conflict between Beaver State and Worlds. Again, not a conflict. It's not smiled upon. And I know a lot of that's the one thing that jumped off the schedule. But if that's the biggest legitimate complaint that our major touring professionals have this year, they've got it really good compared to every year ever before them, and it'll never be completely perfect. So
okay,
all right. So let's take a step into another conversation that I didn't get a chance to get fully worked up on, but a conversation that was had.
Let's get worked up.
A conversation was had about and I'm going to say, which I think people were neglecting to realize, the current existing rule for the PDGA is if you miss a hole at the start of a tournament or whatever, you get par +4. And there was an argument that ensued or took place, a conversation that led to other conversations about, is that fair? A, should the person just be disqualified if you've missed a hole, as you would find in golf? Or B, is par +4 the right penalty? Because
yes, yes, it's the right penalty, just based on history. It used to be a 7. Used to say way back in the day, you got a 7.
If you're old school like Johnny V and I, back when there was a ton of conflicts in the tour schedule,
it would just be, you missed a hole, you take a 7 on that.
Regardless,
hole. If it was a par 5,
it was whether it was a 200-foot hole or a 900-foot hole, you took a 7.
You took a 7. So now it's par +4. I have no problem with par +4. Period. If you told me tomorrow, hey, we're changing the rules that say if you miss a hole or if you show up late, you're disqualified, I'd be like, okay, cool. I guess that's the new rule. And it's not because it doesn't affect me because I don't play. It's because either rule is legit. There's no problem. It's cut and dry. You can have a par +4. It's fair for other competitors. It punishes the player and still allows them to play. We're such a small sport that Nico, you said was one spot out of cash.
One stroke.
One stroke out of cash. If he only were to miss 3 holes and not 4, he's in the cash, and that would help pay a little bit for his weekend. You know, the odds of missing 4, you know, that's what it is. But I don't know. I have no problem with the rule. Again, if the rule
So
were to
what
change,
if
I have no problem.
do you? I guess one of the other arguments or the conversation should be is that it should be a little bit. There's maybe a fine line between par plus 4 and DQ. That it should be a little bit more punitive. That it should be. One conversation was it should be what the worst person in that same division scored on that hole plus 2 strokes.
No.
Because in theory,
That's dumb.
in theory, Nico could have missed the first hole,
Sure.
right? And let's say somebody else scored a 9 on that hole. Nico didn't show up for the hole, but he got a better score than them.
Doesn't matter. It's dumb. It puts too much work on a TD. Like, it's great for UDisc when I can go through and just sort by score. Like, the worst score was an 11 because you missed hole 5 and we watched some guy throw in the water 4 times. So you're going to get a 13. How about when at the GMO, when someone misses hole 4, they're starting hole 4 and they don't show up till hole 6. Now you need to go through every scorecard and figure out what's the biggest number. I think someone took a 6. And then it turns out later they take a 7. So you found out someone took a 7. Who's that on now? Is that on you? Is that on the player? Is that on the TD? Do you change that after the fact? Like, it makes no sense to me. Cut and dry is the right rule. You either par plus 4 is a fine. If it was par plus 3, I wouldn't care. But par plus 4 is fine with me.
If they changed it, just throwing it out there, if they changed it to par plus 6 and made that the new rule, would you be okay with that too?
Sure.
Okay.
As long as it's cut and dry. Like, I think 6 is a bit too punishing.
Okay.
But if there was an agreement and everyone said, we think 6 is the right answer, I'd be like,
sure.
Okay, let's roll with
Okay.
it. But and someone said, I think it might have been Matt on the board was saying, maybe for X, if it's an act of God or a car accident, it should maybe be par plus
No.
2. I don't think you can start parsing that.
You can't. And here's and I said this, and I love Sarah to death. I'm still good friends with her, and I will say this time and time again. What if Sarah Hokum or Nico LaCastro? I'm not even going to pick on Sarah. How do we know Nico LaCastro wasn't fixing his hat and ran into someone? He was fixing the hat he was wearing.
Yeah.
He was on his way to the course, not paying attention, and I know he got actually hit is the story, but let's just play pretend. How do I know Sarah Hokum or Nico weren't putting on makeup, checking their watch, downloading a podcast before they were about to go on their route? Eating lunch. You cannot start saying, well, they got in a car. It sucks they got in a car accident. We said the exact same thing about Sarah Hokum, and I love her to death. But what if it would have came out Sarah Hokum was reaching down to pick up her water bottle, and then she plowed into a car? Does anyone make a difference for her? And then now here again, we're talking about another high-profile player in Nico, and the same argument was made back at Worlds. Sarah Hokum was in the lead. A current or is a previous world champion was in the lead. If an 850 rated woman on the 7th card got in that same car accident, would she have gotten any benefit of the doubt? If Joe Schmo, the 875 rated player this weekend out there playing, got in a car accident, would he, would people be clamoring for the same justice? No. So I completely agree with you that you cannot start saying, well, if this happens or that happens or whatever, if they miss the hole, it's par plus 4, regardless of how they missed it. What happens when someone shows up late and they're like, oh, well, my phone died and then I didn't have GPS, so I couldn't figure out how to get to the course. It's on you. It's always
correct.
on.
And that's why I think you have to go with a cut and dry, same rule, not worst person in the tournament, not worst person on your card.
Let me follow that worst person mentality, because Jeremiah Mraz, and I'm only picking on you because you commented, you said you like I think you said, you and others, so I'm not just picking on you, have said, the worst score plus 2, and you said a great reason why not to do it, and I totally agree with your reason, I'll double down on that and say, Joe Schmo signs up for the tournament. He is rated 850. And he came out to Waco this weekend because he said, man, I don't want to play the AM weekend. I have to work on Sunday, so I can only play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I'm going to play pro because there's a spot in the tournament that's open. I have $200, and there's a really good chance that I could maybe play with
a top pro.
I could play with Nico LaCastro first round. That would be awesome.
Half a first round.
Well, let's just.
I know.
I'm painting a different picture.
I know.
But he says I could play with like someone like Nico first round. What happens when that guy goes out to one of these par fours, and he takes his 19?
Mm-hmm.
So now Nico should get the 20. Get 19 plus the 2. Like, that's why you've said it. You can't base it on someone else's score. Or even worse, you get to your second to last hole of the tournament. And it happened to have been what was Nico's first hole. But you're on your second last hole of the tournament, and you're like, God, my round sucks. I suck. I don't care where I'm throwing this. I'm going to throw a few out of bounds. I'm going to piss away this hole because I don't want it to count on my ratings, which is its own, separate mess. But nonetheless, you carded 22 like the guy did at Ledgestone last year.
Yeah.
That still is 22 on the record books.
Yep.
So now Nico should get punished because you wanted to take a 22 intentionally? Like, you can't base someone's punishment off of someone else's score. Just none of that makes sense to me. So I hope we've beat that to death. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, and I understand. Some people say, well, that's the most fair.
But is it? The 850 rated guy that showed up that really shouldn't be playing pro that weekend, that's the most fair, is to say, well, he got a 22 on that hole. I think Nico deserves a 24.
No, I think
there's nothing fair about that.
No, I agree. I think a good set number, par plus number is the best way to go. But again, I said I wouldn't be opposed to just a straight DQ. Like, I think it's a little too harsh, but if that was what we agreed on, that's fine. I would put up a little bit of a stink as your worst score plus 2. But ultimately, again, if that's what people decided on and that's what we voted on, and I would probably suck it up and be like, I don't agree with it, but whatever. But I think the way we have it now is a very good way to do it.
And I agree. If you wanted to change it to par plus 3, par plus 4, par plus 9, whatever that set number is, I would entertain that conversation. But I think to have it, yeah. Anyway, all right. So I think we beat that one down. But I'd love to hear your input.
So how would it work?
So then I could rip
You
off.
and I are driving to a course together.
Okay.
You're on hole 3. I'm on hole 4. You do I? So we both miss our first 2 holes. So on hole 4, you take par plus. The 2, 17 plus 2. That's a 19. Do I get 19 plus 2? Because it's your worst score plus 2.
But I don't get to play one of the holes.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, there wouldn't even technically be a high score, technically.
Because
somebody didn't play a hole.
I know. I just thought
But
it was funny.
good point. Again, the reason why you can't base it on somebody else's.
Anyway.
Matt, and to put it in a pretty old, wrap it all up, absolutely. Of course, all of these instances are incredibly unfortunate, and I'm never blaming anyone. I've never said Sarah was putting on makeup, but I always thought about that dynamic as to what if it came out later she was, or she left the house, or Nico left the house late, and they were speeding the whole way there, and that's what ultimately caused the accident. Both instances, it's been very much... And rightfully so, has been presented as, well, they got in a car accident, that wasn't their fault. What if it was?
Yeah. No.
Is there still the same grace?
No. So.
Hey, I plowed into a school bus. I plowed into a school bus full of kids.
Full of nuns.
Full of nuns, but I'm here three holes late.
I just left the accident scene. There might be cops trying to get me. Put me on a wooded hole. So... Anyway,
all right,
we can move on from this subject.
Yes, we can. But it was a good conversation.
It is a good discussion. It's a good conversation to be had.
And if you also said new rules, let's just DQ you, I'd be okay with that too. Because like you said, it's cut and dry. You know what to expect. Here's the real here's the question though: is Marshall from Texas didn't get into the tournament, so he's hanging out. He's hanging out, and he's hanging out, and all of a sudden Nico doesn't show for his tee time. Marshall's, we'll say, on the waiting list is the term I'll use. Marshall's like, well, he's not here ready to tee. Can I just take a spot?
That's a good question.
It would clear up that ambiguity.
Yeah.
And I'm in the same position. I'm running an event,
No,
Skyline Classic.
This is a different beast. It's not
but
the
it's
same
similar
question.
but different
It's
if someone's
similar.
not there on time.
No, and I know because people are saying, well, move on. But this is a different question. If you're flat out DQ somebody because they don't show up on hole 1,
But they get there by hole 2.
they can play. But right now, if you say if you DQ them, they can't play at all. Then at least you could say, oh, what? If they're not here by the 2-minute mark, then they're disqualified and Joe Schmo can play. I think that would be a different way to do it, and I would have no problem with that either because, yeah, then you could get somebody in, and then you would have to refund the player their money minus $10 handling fee.
I'm not going to touch that one.
I got an email, a message from a good friend of ours who got sick the day before a tournament this weekend and didn't want to play, and the TD was being
Difficult? Challenging?
And it's a TD we've had issues with in the past here in Wisconsin, and basically said, no, you can't have your money back. I'll give you a player's pack. And the current PDGA rule is if a player withdraws within 14 days of the tournament starting, it's TD discretion whether they get a player's pack, if your division gets a player's pack,
Okay.
or 25% of your entry fee.
25%
of your entry fee.
So not 75% with 25 being kept.
Correct.
But
You get
25% of your entry fee.
So the question was, so the guy was like, so I take either $17.50 or the guy offered me a player's pack. And I said, well, you don't have to take that player's pack because he's not offering one to the rest of your division. He's doing that to try to placate you because he doesn't want to give you money back. And he ended up actually playing the tournament the next day, even though he was sick, because he didn't want to waste his money and he didn't feel like getting only $17.50 back was worth it. He's like, I'll go play sick. I said, well, if you throw up, do it in his discs. Do it in his bin of discs.
Good call.
Because that's just what I thought. So that's an interesting rule as well that has changed recently. Is the refund that's new as of the last 2 years, I think.
Yeah, and various stipulations to refunds. So make sure you read your rules and you know what the refunds are and or what the tournament director policies are.
Yes.
When playing in an event.
Yeah. If people would just stop frequenting.
Vote with your dollars, people.
Yeah.
If you don't like how somebody runs something, quit playing in their events. Don't go there and expect something different. Speaking of playing in events, Skyline Classic officially full on my end. April 8th and 9th, we've got Nate and Val coming to town. Please join us on April 6th. That's a Thursday night in Greendale, Wisconsin, for the release of the Sky PA. That is, in fact, the Skyline Classic IPA beer, hence the Sky PA. So, and not Porter Ale or whatever else it might stand for, but Sky PA, combining Skyline and IPA. Good stuff.
Yeah.
That will be available. You have to be here to try it. Be here, love it. Just over the Illinois border.
Ronald says, is there a hole limit to what you can miss before you're DQ'd? No, you could miss 17 holes, show up on the 18th. You could not play the whole first round and show up and play the second round. We've had players do that before, and just because it's a fun event, they want to do it. And Madison actually said, I thought she had done that.
Something like that.
Something like that. Last week she had talked about that.
So, yeah. All right. Do we got anything else in the hopper now that I'm thinking about?
No, I know we want to talk real briefly about coverage this weekend. We had some issues with some cell signal and back in the woods, and nothing we can do about that. We did end up splitting off our catch cam to go with the second card, which created a whole different, I won't say mess. It created a whole different
set of
challenges with getting all those shots in, all the lead card, and still trying to get the FPO coverage in, plus then trying to get the sponsors in, because the sponsors are guaranteed X amount of viewings for their commercial around. So having to get all that in made for a really interesting broadcast this week. And I think I learned a few little things that I'll probably take with me for if we ever have to do this again. So it was definitely, I wish the signal would have been better, because I think it could have turned into a better a better showing for how we could split off like that. So
Yeah, and it's just too bad. As many people I've heard were frustrated with, anything from a freeze to a jitter or a jolt or
Yep.
anything like that. Again, we had the exact same cameras, exact same setups, everything that we've had in the previous few weekends. We saw how clean and amazing things can look when we're at a place like
The
Fountain
Memorial.
Hills and the Memorial, and then to go here, which is a great course and a great facilities and amenities
Yep.
and all these things, and then
then-
ultimately we're relying on those cellular signals. So it's definitely unfortunate. Someone asked earlier, I don't know if we're still there, but someone had asked earlier about the mic spikes and static, and the long and short is we are going to we've invested already in a new microphone setup.
New microphone.
I'm not going to go ahead and promise that's going to eliminate all problems, because that would
No.
be silly for me to say, but we are certainly anticipating that this will help with some of the issues in terms of our wireless mic setup. And again, I feel like our wireless mic setup on any given day can be rock solid,
which
but
we
it's still a little touchy.
which we saw at the Memorial. It was really good mostly. You do get the occasional, if you wander too far, and I joke that you should have the shot collar, if you wander too far from the cameraman or something, if there's a bunch of people between you suddenly, it can cause a static spike. And trust me, I hate it as much as the next guy because I have these on, so I hear it about 15 seconds before you guys do, and it sucks. It does,
Yeah.
because you get a big fat
and
spike.
and
But
for me, the worst part is I don't even know when it's happening.
no, because you're not hearing, the cameraman knows,
Yep.
he knows,
But by that time, it's too late.
but by that time it's too late because the static spike hits, and
then
then
15
seconds later it hits me, and about 5 seconds later it hits you guys. So it's, yeah, and it stinks. But we have ordered a new digital mic, which I think will eliminate the static spikes. And I'm not gonna say it's eliminate all of our problems, but it's a stronger mic. It will. It's a high quality. It's actually right here, and I'm gonna hit the place order button.
Get it.
Boom. There we go. I should have it in about 2 days.
Isn't that exciting? And that has an extra. You got the extra battery charger pack.
I
stuff
have, yeah.
all in there. Okay.
Yep.
Good. So that's just use a Britney Spears headset. I would love to. I'd love to use one of hers and get it from her.
Getting a little creepy here.
And hug her.
Like a long, like one of those awkward long hugs you like to give
They're
sometimes.
never too awkward, or
A
they're
little
never
bit,
too
just a
long.
little bit.
Never.
No, one of the reasons and that's a good question. One of the reasons we don't use lav mics or those headsets is because when Terry's walking, we tend to hold the mic away.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to hear if Terry's hiking it up a hill.
Or even if I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just breathing in general.
as funny as this sounds, and I because I've done this with people that are more fit than me, believe it or not.
Yeah, someone yelled at Avery, and Avery is in really good shape.
He sure
when
is.
But when he was on the broadcast, he was breathing into the mic, and part of that was him holding it too close, walking and talking and trying to communicate. Never ends well.
Exactly. So know that even the most fit of all fit people walking and talking, or even sometimes walking then talking, can give an impression. So it's about where you hold the mic, and there's a lot of things to it. And I'm going to be the first to say 9 out of 10 times if you hear breathing on the mic, like just like as a paw or as a stationary position, and someone's just breathing, it's probably not me, because I've trained myself to keep the microphone away from me unless I'm actually speaking. You may hear rhythmic or weird breathing while I'm speaking or something like that, but you're never going to hear me just hanging out and breathing into a microphone. That's never going to be me. I taught myself years ago. I got over that.
Yeah.
Is there a way you can go to a new area to work with local cable internet providers to set up something to boost your signal for the broadcast? No. Short answer is no. We rely on cellular signal, and if Verizon isn't top notch and they don't have all the fanciest, greatest stuff to work with our mid-level equipment, or is it entry level? I don't know. Mid to entry level equipment, then there's nothing that's going to help. And a lot of people, and I appreciate a lot of people telling us about like Wi-Fi this and Wi-Fi that and Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi means nothing to us, unfortunately. You could go to the most amazing Wi-Fi area in the world. We could hang out in Google and broadcast from in Google, unless they have good Verizon cellular
Well, I'll say
service.
this: if somehow we ended up getting, if we were in like the most blanketed Wi-Fi park in the world, somehow, I don't even know if that exists, I would find a way to use that Wi-Fi.
Sure,
but in general,
currently no.
But currently, no. Just like it's the same argument about the satellite truck. Everyone's like, "How much to get you guys a satellite truck? We need to." It's like, that's great. All the satellite truck does is give us a really solid uplink. How do you get the signal from the cameras to the satellite truck? You still need to run some sort of cords, which is going to run us thousands of dollars. We're just in an in-between point where we need better cell coverage, and there are options that I've kind of looked at, but they're really hacky, and I'm not sold on one yet.
This is the best that's available anywhere around this pricing point, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
That's at least this reliable. So, is the only way to taste Doss's Sky PA is on Thursday the 6th. No, you will likely be able to taste it at the event in Kenosha.
Ooh, really?
On Saturday or Sunday as well. I'm not even going to guarantee it's going to be available come Sunday, but Saturday or Sunday. If it's not going to sell out Thursday night, but Saturday or Sunday at the event are your other options, and that's it. Or if there's any left after all of that, it will be available back at Explorium in Greendale, Wisconsin. So those are the only opportunities, assuming there's any left by then. And there's no touching it anytime before then, because it's still sitting in the fermenter as we speak.
What if I break into Explorium right now?
It would taste nasty, I guess, apparently.
For me, most beer does. But.
Well, I mean, if you broke in there, found the right fermenter that it's in,
yeah.
and got yourself a glass or something into it.
I'm guessing it probably wouldn't taste good for a beer.
Correct. I'm guessing it would not either. It's got a couple more weeks to sit in there. All right. Yes, Brittany would definitely get introduced to disc golf if I had the chance. Dixon Jowers' loud breathing last year was awesome. Again, I'm not picking on anyone. It's just a thing you have to learn, and whether it's an Avery or a Cameron or a Dixon or a Robert McCall, anyone that's ever co-commentated, it's just some stuff that's getting used to. I don't know which, if any of those have ever done it, but I just know it's never been me anymore. Humans breathe and it makes sound. Get over it. Yeah, I think you can do your best to control it and to make it, yeah. Inside the Circle, I didn't realize he had.
No,
his
Dixon
own
has a new podcast called On the Box.
On the Box.
On the Box. So
On the Box.
if you really enjoyed Dixon on the Inside the Circle from last year, he's doing an On the Box podcast. A little close to Smashbox Dixon. I'm not gonna lie. Watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you can listen to it. Dixon is very verbose. He's a very smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. I haven't had a chance to listen yet. I do plan on at some point catching up, but I'm probably not catching up. I do at some point plan on downloading and listening. I just literally haven't thought about it when I've had my podcasting stuff open. So I do have a good suggestion.
Uh-oh.
There's a new podcast, relatively new, called Minimum. And that's it, just Minimum. And it's kind of a review podcast. He takes other people's podcasts and just talks about them. And like the last one, I'm gonna bring it up. He talked about Tim Ferriss's podcast.
Okay.
And the guest that he had on, and basically just said, "Oh yeah, this is what the guy said. This is what he meant. He brought up these points and this and that." And it was really good. It was about it's called Avoiding Evil and the Future of Humanity. It was about the old Stanford prison experiment on the Tim Ferriss show, and then someone on the James Altucher show. So he picks like 2 or 3 podcasts, and it's 15 minutes. It's never more than 15 minutes, and he just talks about what was on those podcasts and kind of sums them up, so you don't maybe have to listen to them. It's a really kind of nice thing. I've only listened to one episode, but I liked it, so I'm going to give it another shot. It's literally just called Minimum. So look for it. It's by let's see who does. I don't even know if it says who it's technically by, but yeah, it's just one guy who talks about podcasts. So he gives a summary of podcasts. So
A podcast
about podcasts.
about podcasts makes sense.
Check it out.
Minimum. Question. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get caught up for you guys as to Hot Sweats, kegs only. Yes, this is going to be released as kegs only. Getting back to the Sky PA.
So there's no bottling
no,
or cans or
not,
okay.
Not that I know of. There was a conversation about growlers, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
I think we're going to just see them in kegs. And Val has said it multiple times. You gotta be here to try it. You gotta
exactly
drive to try, or whatever she says. Something clever, more clever than that. How early do you get to the course before events to test signals around the course? Good question, Rob. They vary. A lot of times, like last year, we've been there in years past, so we kind of knew what to anticipate. Places like Vibram, we know where some of the weak spots are. Memorial, we've now been at for 3 or 4 years, and we know we don't really have any issues. This weekend was a great example. I got to the course the day before, but the problem is, well, let me back up. When Steve Dodge is talking to TDs, and there's even the hint or the idea of us doing any kind of live broadcast somewhere, we asked the TD to go out, or the TD and their helpers to go out and kind of give us some speed tests that are found on apps. However, that's only one portion of it. Just because something tests well with an app on your phone doesn't necessarily mean it's going to test well with our expensive equipment. So, and then like this weekend, we knew that the signal was going to be decent. So that's what we were told as we as we then traveled down there. And we get there for the event, and the day before the event, I walk around with an actual setup, and I'm talking and communicating with Johnny saying, okay, this looks okay, this looks okay. And he kind of says, well, that area is not so great, this area is great, so on and so forth. A place like this weekend is a prime example. There's 9 holes in the woods. I mean, he told me, the signal is okay in a few spots, and it's tolerable in others, and that's about what we're going to get. And at that point, there's really nothing else to do. It's not like there was one wooded hole we could just skip all weekend. There were 9 of them.
And what really kind of stunk was the par 5 or the longer par 4s in the woods, where it was a 2-shot hole. The signal strength was usually best at the tee and at the basket. Well, unfortunately, you stand at the basket, and you're going to be waiting there for 15 minutes while the players get down the fairway. So we have to have someone in the middle of the fairway, where the signal was not very good because you're in the thickest part of the woods, waiting and getting those shots until you get to the basket. Because by the basket, it opened up a little more, and there was less tree coverage. And so you were in a no-win situation there. Like, you had to get the players throwing, and at some point you have to be there because it's going to take them 2 more shots to get down to the basket. So it just stunk, and hopefully we'll see what the next events bring. And I'm gonna say thank you to TJ Chappelle for pledging tonight on Patreon. So if you're out there, TJ, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Very generous of you. We appreciate it. Anyone watch Dave Chappelle's Netflix, and was it good? I've just heard everyone say it's good, but I haven't.
I mean, Chappelle's funny in general, so I'll probably end up watching it maybe on a car ride or something.
I did not watch.
Netflix, you can download it now.
So nice. Somebody just walked Olpe for y'all to test GBO. Haha. Yeah, we know.
Yeah,
we're on top of that.
Yes, we are.
Stop volunteering things for me. You're also willing and able to go gather some plastic. Okay, I'll send you inventory. Okay. So yeah, that's where things are at. Nick Hyde, I'm going to get down there on Wednesday afternoon, late Wednesday. By Thursday morning, I'm going to be out there walking the entire course to see if there are any really specific, really, really good or really, really bad spots. And we may have a slightly different game plan for that. That's one course. That's just it, too. It's funny, we go to Memorial this year where we've been before, and we have 3 courses of pretty good signal. If there's most of the events from here on out are held on one course. So if the signal's bad on one course, the signal's bad on one course. It's not like we can be like, oh, okay, well, let's just hope for better tomorrow. It's not going to get any better. But some of that testing was all done in prelims. I know that was certainly a concern of Steve Dodge's in helping choose the sites. And if we get to a place where there's just absolutely horrendous signal and it doesn't work for us, we will call an audible and at that point come up with a different plan to give you the best coverage as quickly as possible at that event. And I'm not going to rule those out at any point. That could happen on last year's Silver Cup as we opened at Silver Cup here in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. The first course, which was the entire first day, I should say.
I forgot we did that.
Yeah, was completely.
Yep.
We basically recorded and then had a broadcast that night where we played it straight through.
And then we had pros come on and do commentary and talk about it.
And people seemed to love it. So, but it was a totally different format, totally different concept, and it's something that is in our back pocket as a potential idea if we ever needed to in the future. So.
Oh, there's so many good people are out on the board talking about all these good shows that I haven't had a chance to watch. Iron Fist I heard was lame. It's a Netflix Marvel series like Daredevil type thing, and Luke Cage. Luke Cage was really good. I like that.
No thanks. Yep.
So I haven't, but I did watch Logan. I went to go see Logan a couple days ago. That was really good. That's a one that you would even probably like. It's more of a drama.
I want to know how is Logan's the restaurant. We'll get back to that. But it seemed that was everywhere in Texas.
Oh, I don't know.
I'd like to know. Logan's the restaurant. It looked like a chain. I have no idea even what they serve.
Yeah.
I did go to Cane's, but that's go on.
And everyone's saying Legion is really good. That's another Marvel one that it's very like a psycho trip. And I just want to wait on that one. I've heard really good things about it, but very confusing things. So I'm trying to stay away from all the information, and I really want to watch it. And no, I'm not a 24 guy, personally. Someone said Logan was lame. Wrong. Logan, you're wrong. Sorry, Birdie
You
Boys.
haven't seen it either, though.
Yeah, I did. I said I saw
Oh,
Logan.
you went and saw
I
that
went to
one.
go see Logan the day before my birthday with a buddy of mine. I liked Logan. Oh, maybe he meant Logan the restaurant was lame.
I don't know. Yeah, I did. I went to Raising Cane's, which is where I was introduced to it. Was in Texas. I think I ate out once. I think in Texas in like twice. Steve treated the first night, and then I didn't eat out any other night in Texas, which was good. It was good for the pocketbook, good for the health, all that.
All that good
but
stuff.
we did Cane's the final night, which only serves chicken fingers. That's it. And they're great. They're really good.
That's cool.
And their cane sauce is great as well. So
hey.
Okay, Ronald Harkey says, in my opinion, Logan's is the Walmart of steakhouses. Fair enough. I drove by it. I didn't even really look at it. I know I saw more than one, and I know we don't have them in Wisconsin or the Midwest. So that's why I asked. Someone give me some Turn Love. Don't like Old Spies. Zaxby's is way better than Raising Cane's. I've heard that I need to check out Zaxby's. I may have to look into that when I go back in 8 days.
Yeah, you're going back. Wow, you're going back to Texas very quickly.
Yes, I am. So real quick, I don't know if this is a big deal or a spoiler of any kind, really, but we're going to probably have a slightly different workflow. We don't know for sure all of the details, but we're going to probably have a slightly different workflow in Texas, and I will more than likely be working the throw camera. We're going to have Chad work the catch camera as he's been doing for the last few events. Hopefully getting more and more dialed in every single time.
I didn't hear any complaints about our camera work this weekend.
I read a few.
I mean, I heard some people say, a little shaky and this and that, but I don't think you can really help that too much. But as far as following discs and catching where they land, I didn't catch really any flack. I didn't hear anything. So I think Chad is really starting to dial it in. But yeah, we're short a cameraman this week.
Yeah,
upcoming week. So
yeah, we're there's a few different options and ways to go and this and that, and it will likely pan out that I will step behind the camera on the tee, and we'll likely have a different featured commentator to win over my job and take it, and I'll become a cameraman. And I'm interested. I mean, I was a cameraman last year for Live in Nantucket. And I know that wasn't as highly viewed as a lot of this stuff. So I'm kind of interested to get the feedback for how my work will go.
Yeah,
I'm just interested to see it.
For the most part, your job is the easier of the camera work, being at the throw cam, because the players are stationary. They're all lining up for you on the tee. If it's a par 4 where you need to walk and catch the next, it gets a little different there. And you just basically need to follow the disc out of their hand. And then hopefully it gets far enough down the fairway where I can get it with the catch cam. So, I mean, it'll be fine, Terry. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm kind of excited. I mean, obviously, when I started doing all disc golf footage, it started with me recording stuff, and I've gone through a number of cameras and
I'm excited.
iterations.
I'm excited to see somebody else get yelled at for their commentary. Just because people always joke like, "Oh, it's not that hard. It's not that hard," and then I guess it is kind of hard. And then I want to get whoever we do. I want to get their feedback as to like, okay, yes, you found it easy or difficult, whatever. How did you take the feedback from people? You know, because we've learned to kind of just let it roll off. But some people might not be so kind. I'm excited. It's going to be definitely different.
DG Weekly says, catch cam sucks. You're just spending 3 hours standing in fairways alone. The problem is you're really not in terms of the live coverage. I could see maybe in regular coverage you're kind of standing out there and it's your own little island. In live coverage, you're so much more involved. You have to know when you're clear to cut away. You have to know, are you covering this guy while are you going to cover the two guys that go left while the other guy covers the two guys that go right? There's so many more dynamics, I think, in live because you have to be actively involved and you have to be cognizant of what's going on. Like, you can't just pick up your camera and move off because other people are doing stuff. Because you have to know.
You're right, because recorded coverage, it's literally all 4 throws done, run down the fairway.
Yep, and you're out of there.
For live, we can't. Unfortunately, we can't do that. We need to wait until, okay, we're at commercial. We got a minute and 12 seconds. Get to where you can in a minute and 12 seconds.
And then don't breathe into the camera.
No.
We don't have that problem on the catch. So it's definitely going to be an interesting change up and a little bit of a different dynamic. And as someone said, get Steve Dodge to commentate. I would love, and he may or may not need to step in if that provides a little bit of variety. We'll see how things pan out. But if Steve needs to step in, I'd be good with that. I thoroughly enjoy most of what he says, and I thoroughly enjoy working with him. But if he ends up being part of a team where it's him and someone else for a little while, that could work as well. So there's a lot of different things going on there. A lot of moving parts for sure. And yes, I'll watch out for the snakes.
Rob says, did it seem like cameramen almost got hit in Waco?
Certainly.
Yeah, that's it. Pretty frequently.
It was impossible not to.
Yeah, especially when you get those skinny fairways towards the end of the shorter ones. I saw one of the Jomez guys almost get hit, I think, once or twice, Mike. And our guy had to do 1 or 2 quick moves.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it happens.
And one could say, well, back up further and you shouldn't get hit. That's one way to look at it. But when you're talking about specifically, I think of a few of the, like hole 18 is a great example. It's a par 5, but it comes down and it bends down into the right. And the critical part is you need to be at the bend so you can see the disc coming out of the player's hand. So if you go any further down the fairway, you can't see what's coming in off the tee. So that puts yourself somewhat in I don't even want to say a landing zone, but in the flight zone. And that's where you have to stand in order to see the disc getting released. So there's no perfect way. I did not see a cameraman get hit. I believe Jomez has understandably bragged that they've never been hit, and I hope they never have. Yeah, we, as far as I know, have never been either. So
no, because I know that was one of Joe's big Joe Height, who was our cameraman last year, that was one of his big claims to fame. He's like, I never got hit by a disc. Never. I've never, and then as far as I know, Chad hasn't been hit yet. I haven't seen that. So, and if the throw cam gets hit, we've got major problems.
When someone
really yanks it straight right or backwards, then we've got some problems. But we've been very fortunate. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
What are the chances of you all having Terry do stationary commentary without having to walk with the camera, Steven? That's a question, and that's really just a strategy. It could be done.
Yeah.
It absolutely could be done.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, by design, we haven't done that. We feel like there's enough pros that outweigh the cons in terms of doing that. First and foremost, well, I'm a commentator, but first and foremost when I'm out there, I'm also first line of tech support. When something's going wrong, if there's an error or a challenge with a cameraman or a piece of their equipment or anything that has to do with our broadcast, or if Johnny's in my ear saying, hey, the stream went down, we're not seeing anything, or you guys need to move, or there's any kind of on-site challenge, I'm that first guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say the only. I'm the first. First level, first line of tech support, or just I'll say on-site support. So similarly, I'm also the guy that when Johnny V is at commercial, which we're now obligated to play, and the Pro Tour is obligated to provide, when he's on commercial, and and Ricky Wysocki's ready to tee off because he stepped right up to the next hole, and we're mid-commercial. Ricky then looks to me, and he could look to a cameraman, but Ricky looks to me and says, "Are we clear? Are you good?" And I say something hopefully like, "Oh, 10 more seconds, please." And Ricky says, "Fine," or whatever. Those are all types of functions
Ricky
that I
talks
do.
to you during the round.
Yeah, or he nods at me.
I know.
But those are all types of functions that I'm doing on site, and then aside from all of those functions, those are I would say my first major functions. The secondary thing that I do then by being on site, as much as I don't like possibly talking or distracting them, but the secondary thing that's very important, I feel like, to our broadcast is I'm picking up what's going on. I can see Ricky Wysocki, who's taking a knee after just taking a bogey. I can see him doing that off camera, and if I choose to talk about it, I can. Or I can see someone running to their car, or someone chugging, I don't know, a bottle of
Gatorade.
of Jack Daniels, or whatever. And maybe I need to I could always do a better job of talking about what's also off camera to me is almost as important as talking about what's on camera. So those are important. But from a technology standpoint, I absolutely, in theory, I could sit here in Milwaukee. I don't even have to leave. In theory, I could sit here with a headphone on and call the shots. The problem is I'm seeing nothing more than what you're seeing, and that to me, I feel like we're missing out.
And here's this will go, and I know we've discussed this before. A lot of people say you guys should have a booth, should have this and that, and it might come to that someday. And it might come to Terry's a sideline reporter. But right now, that booth thing makes more sense. It makes more sense now that we're cutting FPO footage in, because someone should talk about that. And if it's not being done at the editing point, then it should be done live. But we're still not doing that. You're getting kind of just the natural sounds. If we were to start getting 2-card, 3-card coverage where we're going to be cutting back and forth, or where I can start storing the data and playing it, we're going to watch hole 1. Let's quick cut over. I can store hole 2, and once that's done, go back and play hole 2. Then it makes more sense that we need somebody to be able to go back and forth. But that person has to be here in the studio with me because they have to be hooked up to the switching station. I can't have someone off-site doing commentary live. They have to be here because it has to be timed properly. So that's the hurdle we run into. And you're right, Terry. For me, Terry's too valuable on-site right now. And it's difficult to find commentators. I don't know. Think about who in Milwaukee would we pick to be able to show up every other week to do commentary? It would be different. So there are some hurdles there. I wouldn't mind a booth someday for something, and I'll say this right now for what we're doing. Watch our broadcast. It's getting very paint by the numbers. FPO footage. Shot, put out, commercials, and it just repeats. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty station unless we run into a backup. That's the only time. A booth would do us no good right now because there's almost no time except to talk about the FPO footage. So we'll see. And if we ever get to the point where we have 2 or 3 or 4-card coverage, there's going to be more of me. There's going to be another one of me. There's going to be another. It's going to be a different setup somehow. So it's possible. If there was a weekend to do it, it would be this weekend but we need Terry as a cameraman. Where I'm saying, we're short a man and having Terry not there, but
yeah.
So
there's just a number of roles that we're such a small operation. Now you multiply our budget by
and then on top of that, you add
by 20.
You add another person because the minute you add one person to a booth, everyone's gonna be like, dude, you need a pair. Everyone has a pair.
Yeah, they have to co-commentate,
and then you're throwing another.
Yeah, whatever. All
money,
just
how much
every
extra
single
money
person you're adding. Right now, we're cramming multiple people on air mattresses into dingy hotels to help make
Sweet.
this to help make this happen. So
Skeezy? Are they skeezy too?
not yet. I'm sure I'll find one by the end
All
of the year.
right.
But
Terry's always good for finding a bad hotel.
the cheapest hotels on the cheapest flights to be as economical as all this is possible, and it's still not cheap to do overall. So a legitimate question by Fish Bass Collect Glass asks, ever think players can hear Terry while they're playing, even while he whispers? First of all, I try not to whisper because I try not to. I feel like if it has to be whispered, then I should just not say it at all at that time. And second of all, absolutely, players can hear me. Fair or not, a lot of them have gotten used to it. I'm not saying that's good. I try not to ever be talking where I feel like it should be distracting them. But it's also, there's an awkward moment when somebody smashes a tree and they're walking off that tee pad and I'm near-ish the tee pad and I have to say, yeah, Ricky just squared up with that tree and smashed it. He's not getting a par from there. Like, that's kind of awkward. It's awkward for them to hear. It's awkward for me to say. But I try to do my best to do things like that. I don't want them to hear me, and I hope that they don't most of the time. But do they? They absolutely do. Now, I'll say the same thing with a cameraman or our cameramen, whether it's Smashbox or Joe Mez or Central Coast. There's also a certain amount of trust and familiarity with us and the players too. I feel like we've all gained and earned some of that mutual respect and trust. They know I'm not going to blurt something out in the middle of a backswing. They should know and trust. The Joe Mez guys aren't going to
move in the middle of a putt.
Move a camera in the middle of the putt. Those are some of the things that we've earned and have gained throughout the years. So it's not always just these guys suck, let's get someone else in here, because someone else in there is going to have a learning curve and it's going to have challenges as well. So I try not to, I guess to go back to it though, I try not to talk during times where I feel like I shouldn't be. Do they still hear me when they walk away or when they walk past? Yeah. And our players.
Germ's a good explanation of that because
he's listening
because he chimes in. He listens and he likes to chime in. If Terry says someone is 33 feet away, Germ's chiming in with, no, Terry, he's 34 and a half.
Yeah, I mean, Germ loved to give me a hard time this weekend.
Yeah.
And I'd say, looks like he's 33 feet away, and Germ would look at me and I'd be like, oh yeah, his foot's touching the 10-meter circle, so he's 32 feet 6 inches away, or whatever. And
sure.
So there was a few funny jabs that went back and forth, and that's because Germ gave me a message. Somebody brought up a great point a few minutes ago and said they love the fact that I was talking about the potential money split for the playoff. Again, another astute commentator could have come up with that. But there again, that's part of the relationship that I have with a trusted cameraman and a working relationship where there's sometimes they may be on something and my verbal cues may switch their direction a little bit as well. So if I said, yeah, they're over here, talking about this secret, I could have been talking about that off camera. In our case, I think Rick at the time panned over to what, to see what I was referencing. And again, those are all relationships that get built in with time and with with working knowledge with people and a comfort level. And so I'm glad that you guys caught on to that. But again, if I was just commentating from a booth though, and our great cameraman wasn't
paying attention.
He didn't have any idea what they were talking about because he's a very great cameraman, but he hasn't been around the game nearly as long. So he would have never even noticed or looked over there or ever panned to them. But me being on site, I was able to be the nosy prick that I am now. But we never did get any confirmation. I don't know if they'll tell us. I'm sure Big Germ would, but
Germ would say, yeah, we split or whatever. But
I'm sure that's at least what the conversation was about. Whether they split or not, I don't even need to care. But I know that's what the conversation was at least about.
Of course.
Now I want to get Big Germ. Someone that keeps asking about me giving Ricky a hard time. I'm not sure when. I try not to give Ricky a hard. I try not to give the players, unless it's Germ maybe, too hard of a time during the broadcast or anything that can be heard, because again, a lot of people take our conversations out of context. But I don't know which time you're referencing about. Fish Bass says the Smashbox team is an absolute service to the community. I applaud all of your efforts. Thank you. We appreciate it. Yes, and Chandler, I agree. I shouldn't ever be loud enough that the players hear. Not during a shot.
Not during a shot. That's why I have
for sure
a general thought, and I know Terry's. I kind of got it from Terry. It's like if a player's getting ready to shoot or throw,
just shut up.
Just shut up. There's no reason you should ever be talking when a player is probably on the tee. If you're within 200 feet of them, don't talk while they're on the tee. And even if you're happen to be, let's say, on a longer par 4, our guys go down the middle of the fairway, you might be able to say a little something like, "Oh, here's Big Germ. It looks like he's going to take a big hyzer." Blah blah blah. But for the most part, when a player is putting or driving, just be quiet. That's what we try, and we try to tell the commentators who step in same thing. Like, hey, guess what? If they're lining up for a shot, let the shot talk. Wait till it's out of their hand. I kind of think wait till it hits something before you say anything. Almost like hit a basket, hit the chains, hit the ground, then maybe talk. It's at least for putts, for drives, those things are in the air for a while.
Ronald asks, have you ever messed up a player on a shot that you were aware of? I'm going to say I don't feel that I have. And I feel like, again, I'm usually self-aware enough with the players. Nobody's ever given me the evil eye. People have glanced off because they heard a distraction. They've heard a noise or a comment or something. But for me personally, and I absolutely could be wrong, but I'd like to say I don't think I have personally ever messed up a shot from like a conversation or a distraction standpoint at all. I don't believe that I have.
No.
So did they split the cash? Don't know. We'll have to ask Ricky or Ricky. I'm sorry, I just read Ricky. We'll have to ask Big Germ that. Check out Facebook messages. You picture
Chandler
of a Firebird.
Chandler sent a picture of the Firebird.
Oh, the one that hit Yeti.
Yeah.
Was that you?
No, he sent it. I don't know where he sent it. He probably sent it to the Smashbox, actually.
Is that your niche to bring us the inside? That is your niche. Thanks.
Well, I got lots of messages in our inbox here.
I asked Ricky, hear you when you say, for example, oh, Ricky splashes out from 25. Yeah, they can hear that. They sometimes can. They absolutely can hear stuff like that. So, give me back my shirt. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is the Yeti, the disc that hit Yeti. I'm sorry, Chandler. Are you the one that, in fact, hit him? I'm guessing so, if we're looking at this disc. And then secondly, can you explain it? Did it burn? It burned a hole in him, and it melted into him, as he explained?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's a very interesting. Like, was that a rough spot on the disc before? Was that
There's so many questions.
There are.
Jared asks or says, wow, sorry that. Sorry, Jared, you missed out charging your phone. That's silly. PDJ shows Germ took about $800 more. Here's the inside scoop on that, Michael. The PDGA, per rules, has to determine an outright winner for first place. If there were 10 people that tied at second, they would probably all have the exact same amount listed for second place, because they take all those and divide them up and split them evenly. First place, they must determine by sudden death an outright winner for first place of any division. So when I said that they were maybe having a conversation, they very well may have said, okay, first is 2,800, second is 2,100. Do you want to split 4,900 or whatever? They may have said, do you want to just do an even split? That is incredibly common, but certainly not required. But when one is pulled aside and they had the conversation, I guarantee, I'd love to bet on it, I bet they talked about it. Now, whether or not they agreed to it or not, I have no idea. But they at least talked about it. Do you want to split? Because what a lot of times they'll say is, how about we split the money? Usually 50-50. We split the money and we play this off for the trophy. That's more or less what is commonly said. So, but according to the PDGA, even if they did do the split, they still will always mark it in the PDGA accordingly by who actually won it. So, hope that makes sense. Can we hit the 4-hour mark? I don't know. We're 16 minutes short of that. If Chandler wants his 15 seconds of fame, I think it's legit because that was pretty crazy.
That is a pretty crazy turn of events there.
Actually embarrassed, but since it's gone this far, might as well show the pic of the Firebird with the shirt still burned into it. I don't know why Andrew keeps talking about Nico. How do you not remember that? Remember the context of the Nico stare down. That was, last year. So Matt says, so just in general, you're at the basket covering them. Someone putts and misses. You report it after the fact while they're walking to get their disc. Sometimes it looks like they can hear you. Yes, they sometimes can. They shouldn't have missed. Because otherwise I would say they made it. I mean, I'm just reporting the facts here. I'm probably not telling them anything they didn't know.
Yep.
But sometimes they can. And I wish that they didn't have to, and I wish I didn't have to say it, but sometimes it happens.
But they know if we are part of growing the sport, they have to deal with it.
Did Simon do the Nico stare down in the Jomage footage? I don't know. I didn't see any of the Jomage footage. Ricky's hole with you dogging him is a classic.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that.
What event
I
that is.
apologize. Yeah, I don't. Luke says, I remember when Nico acted like a big baby in S. Terry. What are you waiting for? Yeah, that was last year. What was the record y'all had? About 1,200 viewers between the two channels. No, we had way more than that.
Yeah, it wasn't as big as Memorial for sure.
No.
I want to say it was closer to 2,000, 2,200.
Oh, I thought it was even higher than that.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
To be honest, I didn't even look. So it could be more than that.
Johnny, you are getting really bad at leaving the window up.
Thanks. Yes.
Damn it.
Well, it's new because
See who I'm working with? Seriously.
I know. Oh, God.
Effing
Well, it's funny
noobs,
because
rookies.
now I have, because of the way we're doing the Pro Tour and we have this, we have a graphics guy. I got a third monitor, so now I have 3 monitors to play with.
And you screw up all 3.
And I've been putting the screenshots over on the third monitor and capturing that. And then I switch to the shot and I pull it off of that third monitor and I start going back here and I forget to change the shot. So it's just, I used to only have to look at 2 monitors, but I rarely have to look at the switching monitor in the after show anymore because I'm not switching hardly anything.
Yeah.
But but you're right. I'm getting tonight is very bad. Lots of empty frames.
Question came in. Adam says,
This is our last question tonight. Unless there's something good.
Oh, really? Okay. Is the 33 feet measured from the pole or the basket? And I would say typically, most event directors wrap some type of washer-type setup around the pole of the basket and then paint around it accordingly. And that's usually then measured out at the 10 meters from there. So I would say it should be from the pole of the basket. No, it's not going to be from like the top of the basket or the side of the basket or the chain entrapment. It should be elevated baskets. Good question. It depends what kind of pyramid is built to it. I don't know. Having
the gallery was rough this week.
They were.
They got a little better as the weekend went on,
but barely. And here, let me just clarify because I know somebody misinterpreted something somewhere online today. I know. Believe this.
What?
Someone somewhere online misinterpreted.
What?
I'm good with galleries. I love galleries. We all want them. Tournaments. That's all great. The time when you piss me off in the gallery is when you're trying to encroach on the players and the media. And I know you want the first front row seat because there's no others. Very few other sports allow you to get so close and personal, but you need to back off. You need to give the players their space. You need to give their caddies their space. You need to give a couple of the media people their space. And then from there, you still need a few feet back. And that was not happening. I love that you're enthusiastic, but you need to back off. There were times where a shot was thrown and a random person, none of the caddies or true helpers would then like get on the tee and like start shuffling in to see where this disc was. No, get the F back. Like just like in a PGA event, I know there's crowd control that's way more serious at those, but you need to stay back. That's when I got mad, and you heard me at one time say, and the gallery's moving and doesn't seem to care. They just keep going where they want. I was getting frustrated because you're going to impact the player. Again, you haven't built that trust with the players that we have, and quite frankly, you're not relevant to the shot or to the moment. And just so many people kept walking in front of cameras, the Jomez crew and our crew, and then we need to be first in line to then get to the next shot. And so when you all converge and then create this sea of people, you need to like count to 5 and then walk slowly, not rush. That's my soapbox about that. Please. Please just stay back. I love that you're there. Stay back. Give everyone a little extra breathing room so they can breathe into a mic heavily. No, I'm just kidding. Give everyone a little extra breathing room. That's all we ask for. Yes, people were rushing and to get in their next spot, and just they just didn't care. And it was frustrating. We thought it would get better, and honestly, it didn't. It was the same pretty much the whole weekend. And I'm not picking on WACO. This can be at any given event. We need everyone to stay back. And then the bigger problem is everybody thinks they're part of the posse. Oh, I know Big Germ. I talked to him last night. I had a beer with him. We're besties. I'm going to hang out on the tee where he is. No, you're not. Get the F back. Like, everybody thinks they're part of the entourage and the posse and the crew, whatever the term is these days, and the Klingon, the hanger-ons, the whatevers. You need to just back off, because if you're not carrying the bag and you're not some form of official media or tournament staff, you need to step back. Does that make sense? A few of our players. There was somebody Facebook Living. I don't care that you Facebook Live, but as soon as you step in front of a paid cameraman spot, that's when you're going to have a problem with me. And that's a tough guy promise from a guy that's not tough. But yeah, respect us. All right. Back off. Quit Facebook Living in our way. I'm not even gonna call him out, but if he ever does it again, he will get called out hard. And he's a supporter and a fan. Don't do it. Facebook Live all you want from a few rows back. All right, guys. Yeah, do we envision ropes? Absolutely. We need them, and they're gonna be bigger and be out there. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. It's been a pretty fun show, actually.
It has. It didn't feel like 4 hours. That's for
it
sure.
Never does. Never
sometimes it does.
It's been fun. Thank you guys for supporting us via Patreon, including the sizable patron offering that came in tonight. We certainly appreciate any and all. Our contributors appreciate it. I know we're going to see more from Zoe. We're going to see more from, continue to see from Dana and Yuli.
We are.
And other good stuff. So we hope you guys keep tuning in for that. We hope you enjoyed our earlier interview with Josh Anthon. If you didn't know him and want to get to know him, I think you get a real good insight into him from the interview from the regular podcast tonight. So you guys are awesome. Yes, I'm fighting it with an ice cream bar in my mouth. Not quite, but people apparently like that comment.
There are a lot of people that, and it's not the first time you've made it. Like, you've heard bells before, and
we were at the memorial, and there's an ice cream truck that went by.
You've made the ice cream truck before, but this
I have to, because people are like, "Oh, there's a fat kid. Is he thinking about ice cream?" So instead of you guys trying to be funny, I'll wit you and I'll go there.
Take it back, Terry. Take it back.
So
wow.
It's I'm good with that, and yeah. All right, guys. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been our after show podcast. Included a little rant and raven and some other great topics. We hope that you enjoyed it. We'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. It'll be Tuesday night. It'll be the Nick Hyde preview. Should be a good one. We're back with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and the night before I leave for Texas, and some more madness shall ensue. So for Johnny and Terry, see you next week when you step inside the Smash Box.